budget meetings? Because there's no voting. No voting going.
We don't need a voting. We don't need a quorum.
There's no voting. I don't know if we need one or not, but we have one anyway.
We still have one anyway. Yeah. We don't need a budget. We don't vote on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll call the
Good. I
meeting
can-
to order for the budget discussions of the City Hall budgets.
Just last second.
There is a packet, as we've done in the previous budget meetings, which lists the variances between this year's budget, the forthcoming budget and the prior year budget, which you all, the committee is all familiar with by now. There are 26 sheets to the package. There's only 14 in the ones you have. And Lisa is, somehow they didn't get printed up, but they're running off now. But we have enough that we can get started. Okay.
Also, Doug, some of these aren't formatted so that they're lined up.
I know, but
So we'll just need to
Did you get
probably
the
use
message
the
from
regular
Steve?
budget.
no.
Steve is not feeling well, so he will not be here.
Okay. Rennie, I was just saying that this package is supposed to have 26 sheets. It's only a 14, but Elise is running the rest of them off. But we have enough to get started. So in order to not infringe on people's time as little as possible, I've set up an order
All right.
for discussion. And number 1 is Tawana, Washington on human rights.
Do we have that agenda?
I sent it to you. I'll ask
On your phone.
when Elisa comes
Here, I'll
back.
share that with you.
So this
That's what
is
you sent
sheet
out?
number 11.
This order.
Okay,
Here's
I
the
didn't see
order.
that.
Yeah, we'll just leave that right there. We can share.
Budget sheet number 11, page 75 in the budget book. Sheet 11.
I haven't seen anything like that at all. Good.
Okay.
I go through my emails. Yeah.
I didn't print it out, I thought we have one here for us.
Page 74 in the budget book. Okay. Nice to see you. We don't see you very often. Budget meetings.
It's probably a good thing.
Yes.
But, the fact we don't see you very often here, can you just give a 2-minute description of what's going on? I'd be interested in knowing.
Sure. With the Human Rights Office, what my roles and responsibilities as the director is to take any kind of calls regarding any kind of discrimination questions, or the person feels like they've been discriminated against, any housing complaints, or even like with employees, if other employees having issues with another employee, they come to me and I help them out and give them direction on which way they should go. I also do what we call the EEO4 report, where we compile the data of the workforce and the different diversities that makes up the workforce for the city of Kingston. I also work with the commissioners who are volunteers of the community, whatever they may need, whether they may need information for their different areas where they work at. Like one of my commissioners worked for RCAL. So what she needed from me is I run to brochures and cards in case individuals that come to RCAL have a situation, to get the word out there that we're here to help them in certain and stuff like that. So,
Okay, good.
How are we doing as a city overall? Yeah, like as far as our compliance and all the, do you seem that there's a lot of complaints, or are we doing?
no, we're doing really good.
Good.
Really good.
Sheet.
Once people realize that we're here and we are here
Sheet
to
11.
educate,
Okay.
what is acceptable, what is not acceptable by law and all that, people tend to come into compliance. I also am responsible for the discrimination, harassment, sexual harassment, and workplace violence trainings for all the city employees. So we make sure that all the employees have the policy and procedure before they start working, and also go through the trainings. And we do the trainings every year.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay. Ron, I don't see much change in your budget this year. They're rather look like contractual things in personal services, a little bit more in contracted services, $500 more in contracted services. What contractual services do you do?
Well, last year we did a pilot of having the trainings online, because under law we have to have discrimination, harassment, sexual harassment, and workplace violence every year. And with the attorney we only have literally 2 days that's under the contract that we have available. So it's kind of hard to get all the employees together to have the training on those specific days. So what we've done is we did a pilot which went over very, very well. And so what we did for the addition is that to add more employees to be able to do the trainings online. And what's a little bit different with the online training as opposed to the training with the attorney is that there's a test. So individuals have to really pay attention to what they're learning when they're doing the online training, as opposed to if they're sitting with the attorney, they could just be whatever. So, the online training.
Can't the attorneys sue them if they do that?
No, they're doing what they're supposed to do. They're just providing the information by law what you're supposed to do.
So what's cheaper, the online or the attorney?
I'm not sure because I don't do the attorney contract fees. That's with the labor attorneys. So I'm not sure exactly how much that is put there.
You know how much it is for the attorneys, for them to do the training?
Sexual harassment training?
Because we do that at school now. Because again, you can't get the teachers, so they have to take it online, and they got to take a test for every one of them. So, and it's at their convenience. Then they can do it when they want to in a certain amount of time frame.
Tawana, does that come out of your budget or court counsel?
Court counsel.
Okay. So
This is part of the contract that they have.
Right, it would just be part of the court counsel's consultant line.
Oh, so we don't know when it's broken down.
They have $75,000 in their recommended budget for consultants. That would include labor counsel.
Because we're trying to figure out if it's, I'm assuming that's what Pat's looking for, right? If it's cheaper to do online, why are we paying the attorneys? I don't know how much.
And it's year after year after year this needs to be done, so it doesn't really you really don't need
An
attorney to do that, the training year after year after year. You get it, you get it after a while.
But the only, the one thing about that is that not all the employees have access to computers or their emails. Like a lot of the DPW workers or rec that are laborers, they don't have the email accounts.
Oh, okay.
So in order to do the online training, you have to have an email.
Oh, I see. So that's why you have to have it both ways then.
Yeah.
Because some employees don't have an office.
Yeah.
So it's nothing you can do. Yeah. You have to do it both ways. Because the DPW guys don't have access to computers, so they have to have the physical training, and then you have the rest for the other ones, so you have to be in compliance.
Or they have to have time in front of a computer.
Well, if they don't have email accounts, it's moot.
I'm sure you can set up an email account fairly quickly for someone. I know I can.
All the guys in DPW though don't.
He's a ringer. He's a ringer.
I'm just saying so they could access, a computer somewhere in the building or somewhere. I don't know.
Okay. Bottom line, revenue minus expenses are unfavorable, about $1,224. Any more questions on human rights?
Nope, I don't.
Okay.
So,
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
very much.
Thank you.
What you do, Tawana?
I'm going to skip in the order because some of the, Lisa's printing out the missing pages. So let's go to page 2, which is Kyle, while you're here. Sheet 2, which is central data processing.
Oh, the pages are here, you sure?
And then we'll go with it. Okay?
thank you.
Page 45.
Thank you.
Just one?
Well,
No, we don't need it. We don't need it. We're good. I got it on my phone. Yeah, I found it.
I have 2 copies if anyone needs it.
What are we in? Central purchasing?
okay, this is sheet number 2, page 45 in the budget book.
Beautiful, thank you.
And unfavorable, bottom line, unfavorable to last year's budget, $48,632, mostly in
Central data processing.
service contracts. right?
Yeah, the largest ticket item there would be the Kronos that was added, the Kronos maintenance
Okay.
for timekeeping. That's a $30,000 a
What
year
line?
maintenance.
Line 471, sorry.
Yeah. I have it, I detail mine too, I don't know if anybody wants to.
Line 471, service contracts is unfavorable at $47,135.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And what did you say that's attributed to, Kyle?
The biggest ticket there was Kronos timekeeping. We started doing the electronic timekeeping system.
That's why it went up.
Part of implementation, next year kicks in on the maintenance.
And where's that on here?
That's so under service contracts on the,
On your thing?
actually right before the highlighted one. The only thing that's on.
Did that start last year? Is that because it was only a partial year?
It
Is that
was
the difference?
bonded, started last year, and then, I don't know if we paid maintenance this year, I don't know, but we're still a part of implementation. We were hoping to have it up over summer, but we're a few months behind this point. So the maintenance starts kicking in, I think it may have already kicked in or started to kick in, I don't know if John read that, but it's being put into my budget for next year.
8,500?
No, but Kronos was 30,000. There was also a move into my budget that was just a transfer from some other lines, from other budgets. That was 6,300, that's the item I highlighted. So you'll see mine go up, but ultimately some of the other ones should have gone down a little bit. That was just a centralized printing.
So back to this, 30,000 you said, right?
Yeah.
Chromos? So that's going to be every year?
Yeah, I haven't seen the bill yet. I don't know if John has, I haven't even seen that. That was like an estimated number too. and it
Probably
should-
soon.
Every year for the life of this?
Every year, yeah.
And this is timekeeping?
Electronic timekeeping.
So you guys have to clock in when you come in?
Currently, we're still doing punch cards. We don't have electronic setup yet. But we started deploying the clocks. The clocks are set up in almost every building now. We're very close to starting to do electronic. It also does accruals and all of our vacation and sick and tracking of all that as well. It's not just time, but all the time stuff that's related to that. They'll process payroll and ties into our Munis accounting software.
And ultimately, that pays for itself, right, with all the time saved?
Yeah, there's a lot of paperwork to make all that happen. I mean, John knows.
There's a lot
A lot of paperwork to keep track of time, you document your time, get paid for your time.
I
So.
thought this was up and running though. Is that just not this department? Because wasn't there,
The-
I know we've been talking about it for quite.
Yeah, no, right. The bonding was approved a couple of years back.
Okay.
And it's just been a very time-consuming, fact-finding process.
Gotcha.
So we're working on the fire department right now.
Okay.
But yeah, eventually it'll, like Kyle said, it'll do the accruals, the timekeeping. It'll eliminate all the paper forms that we do, like right now. For payroll purposes, if somebody works overtime, there's actual overtime form. If they earn comp time, there's a comp time form. If they want to take time off, there's a form for that. So everything's tracked right now through paper and Excel spreadsheets, and this will replace that. It's just, we've had to build the rules into the system. And our labor contracts are, there's a lot of rules. So IT's been heading that up. They're ready to roll on the fire.
Fire's
is what,
next week.
Next week?
Yeah, next week.
So how many more departments you have to do?
All
And none of them set up yet, except for,
Fire's the first one.
Fire's the person. The other one should go smoother afterwards. We've had a lot of hold-ups with implementation due to the not being able to talk to our music accounting software and some other staging of can we put up time clocks, where can we put them, how are we placing the clock in and out, stuff like that. But all those issues have been resolved now.
Where's the one in this building?
The one will go down by the copy room downstairs. Right now it's just a punch card. That's where it'll replace.
It's very old fashioned.
Yeah.
Don't worry,
Every
Patrick.
building
You don't
has
have to punch it.
cards
Patrick.
scattered.
It's just out.
we'll be doing that soon. I'll get to the schools.
Also, it'll also be better at accuracy as well. It takes out the human error element. So that's one of the advantages of the system.
I have no other questions.
Okay, other questions on central data processing? As I said, the bulk of the variance is in the service contracts. The rest of it looks pretty much contractual.
Yep.
Computer software, line 206. Computer software expenditures are going down by $2,049. Is that,
Oh, last year we had a one-time increase for some engineering software. Which I usually in my budget allot about $800. Last year we had 2,800, we had 2,000 added for something for the engineering firm.
okay, personal services contractual?
Yes. You're just talking about the regular pay, or?
Well, yeah.
It's
all
contract.
Yeah, I mean, there's no change in personnel there.
Right, so it's contractual, okay. Computer software, understand, yeah. Anything else? I think that's it. Any other questions? Thanks, Kyle.
Thank you, Kyle.
Then you're gonna have to wait till the end.
Audit, we go to Arts and Cultural Affairs, which is variance sheet number 21. The variance, you have two packets of the variance sheet, 1 through 14, the Escafua.
What are you going to do in its actual winter? What are you going to do in its actual winter?
I'm gearing up
This
for it.
is
But
variance sheet, this is number 21. Which,
The big item on here is consultants. Explain to me what falls into this consultants.
Sure. So in 2020, my department and the Arts Commission are partnering together to put on a cultural survey to assess the cultural resources in the city of Kingston, and to also come up with a cohesive strategy and plan for how we can move forward with the arts community, how we can create equitable creation of cultural resources, cultural placemaking. So we're looking to use the $85,000 to hire a cultural planning firm, and we took about 3 different quotes from 3 different of the top cultural planners in the country, and then from there we came up with a quote that we thought would be reasonable for a municipality of our size.
So some of the grants in the next page cover that, 85, or is that something different?
So we're actually asking for a $200,000 grant overall, and then the consulting fee is a part of that overall grant ask.
But it's not what's in the budget here, because you have budgeted 142,000 for budgeting, but that doesn't include
Right.
any of that right now.
It does. So what we ended up doing is that we allocated for my transition from a part-time department head to a full-time department head, and our consulting fee for 2020, and then the rest of the grant money will be a couple of 2021 for an additional year of full-time funding.
Okay.
Maybe we need to do something with the air. Everybody's getting sick here in the city hall.
I know. I was like, I'm sorry. If my ears are totally clogged, so if you need me to speak up, just let me know, or speak softer.
which will show a large increase in grants.
We just talked about that.
Yeah.
So we'll be hopefully.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. If we should be hearing back about the status of our grant application by the end of November. So then we'll know if we've secured that grant. We're also in conversations with the community foundations to see if they're going to continue their previous award of $10,000. But they did want to know the result of our no-vote grant before moving forward with that conversation. So a little bit of a holding pattern.
No vote.
No, the No Vote Foundation.
Okay. Are the consultant line 411, are they dependent, those expenditures dependent upon the grants?
Yes, absolutely. If we don't secure the grant, we will have to find an alternate source for funding, and that's why, again, we don't want to move forward until we have our answers. We would still like to move forward with the cultural planner survey, but we'll have to adjust to what we can find funding for. But we would like to move forward with a strategy for the city, having such a vibrant arts community.
Hopefully we'll know by the time the budget wraps up, right? It's going to be something that's going to be close.
Yeah.
So you're supposed to hear by November.
We're supposed to hear by the end of November.
November, okay.
You know, fingers crossed. You never know. But I do think we'll be hearing by then.
Okay. So bottom line, it's unfavorable on your budget is unfavorable, $1,259. So it's a small change, but the two big items are the grants and the consultants for the exhibitions that they put on. So, yes.
What, 472, the contracted services, can you explain that? Because that goes up, that more than doubles.
472?
Yep. Line item 472. It's going
Right,
through
so
2000.
some of the grant that we're requesting for allocates funding that will reimburse people who've participated in the cultural survey, so that's why we placed some of that funding underneath the contracted services line. You know, we're hoping for this survey that we're going to be able to reimburse participants in terms of renting space and things like that. One of the challenges with cultural planning is that we will have to kind of go out into the community versus just requiring that people come to us. And we've also done some research on previous cultural planning strategies, and we found that when people's time is valued monetarily, it can create a more favorable exchange. So we have allocated, in the grant requests, they have offered us some funding for dues and seminars, a marketing budget, and then for contracted services as well. So that's all included in the grant ask. So essentially, I've kind of broken down some of that grant funding and put it where it's going to go, as opposed to keeping it all in one space.
So you really need that grant. We really need that grant.
Excuse me.
So what happens if the grant isn't awarded? I mean, do we just relook at this whole thing and?
That's the common council has to decide, you know,
Right.
what does it want to do. Ultimately, yes.
So whether if the
so
grant
we're-
doesn't come through, we have to decide which of these things we would pay for.
Right. I mean, if the grant doesn't come through, well, depending on time frame, right? So if you don't hear prior to the budget, right, then, you know, you have to process with what information you have. I mean, as it stands right now, everything's in here as if the grant were awarded.
Right, so that's a big ask if the grant isn't awarded.
That's not typical though, is it? Normally, I don't recall us doing that.
I don't know that we've had, well, I think this is a slightly unique situation where you have an employee going from part-time to full-time. That's part of the, you know, the understanding of this grant.
It's part of what?
The understanding of this
We are doing
grant,
December
that
2nd.
Addie's moving from part-time to full-time,
Yeah.
next year's budget,
Mm-hmm.
and that's going to be funded through this grant.
So that's a guaranteed grant then, you're saying?
No, I'm not saying that, I'm saying that that's the presentation of it in the budget.
The budget seems like this is
All that money's going to
taking
get
the
in it.
grant for granted.
Granted.
How do you do
It's
that?
recommending that. It's
You gotta
recommending.
do it in the
Well, the
budget.
council would have the option. I mean, the council, you know, if it doesn't come through, then the mayor and the common council would have the ability to make adjustments to the budget if it chose. Ultimately. I mean,
Okay.
Yeah,
council says-
it's the biggest
We're going on
driver in this
December
budget.
2nd.
Right, for this line.
For this-
Well, it's on- it's
for
on
this
both
department.
sides.
December
Right.
3rd.
Yeah. So when would we know about that grant? You might have said.
From what I understand, they had their meeting on the 15th. And unfortunately, you know, it is up to them to let us know. We were told that we'd be notified sometime in the end of November. And, you know, we'll just keep poking, asking questions, and just seeing if we can get some answers. You know, having a deadline is also helpful because that can sometimes encourage folks to maybe provide some answers a little sooner rather than later. But again, you know, just want to kind of go about that in the best way so that we have a good working relationship to start with.
Correct.
Yeah, we are trying to get that information as soon as possible.
So you're expecting to hear very momentarily on that grant?
Yep.
In fact, it's
Yeah, I would expect. to be
overdue.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, who's the grant from?
So we put in our request with the Novo Foundation.
Okay.
So yeah, so once you get here, John needs to know that real ASAP.
Yes,
Because
absolutely.
he's got to let us
Oh,
know.
absolutely.
Well, again, it would be great if we knew this by the wrap-up meeting.
Which is next week.
Which is a week from today.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, we vote on the budget the first Tuesday in November, so we could always.
It's a little
we
weird
could always-
around
December,
that, but
yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
so we have a little-
it's
we have a
just
little
a
bit of
large
room.
amount of
Yeah,
money
oh,
that if the grant
No
falls
question.
through for whatever reason, then
Yeah.
that's a lot coming out of
Yeah,
taxpayers' pockets.
big change.
If that does happen, if the grant does fall through, what would you see removing from your budget?
Well, definitely the consultant fee to start with. I don't think we'd be able to approach the cultural planning from the same perspective. We might have to maybe consider some alternative strategies for that. I probably would not be able to make the shift to full-time right away. We would just have to kind of go through and, I think that there are some items here that would just make sense to kind of trim a little bit. There are certain expenses that we need just to kind of keep things going. So definitely have to hang on to office supplies, marketing and that kind of thing, but things like travel reimbursement, dues and seminars and that kind of thing, we would be able to adjust moving forward.
Well,
So,
travel reimbursement would be pretty easy to,
yeah,
because it's zero.
yeah.
Well, unless you didn't travel and somebody paid you not to travel.
Yeah, again, we have to face that reality, and that's something that the mayor and I have discussed. We're hoping that we won't have to do that, but we have had conversations about what 2020 would look like if we were not to secure.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So one more question, are there any other revenue opportunities in your department that you could foresee in the future? Maybe not necessarily to budget for this, like just ways to generate revenue in your department, or?
It's kind of tricky. I haven't really, the best way for us to find revenue is to go through grant resources, community foundations, those kinds of things. There are NEA grants and things like that as well. But oftentimes those grants require matching, so there is, some research that can be done there. One of the reasons that, we wanted to partner with someone like the Nova Foundation is that we felt like the mission for what we were working on with the cultural survey made sense with their mission, so they felt like a natural collaborator. But I'm sure that there are other resources that we could utilize if it came down to that. But in terms of things that my specific department can do to increase revenue, I feel like it's a little bit of a challenge to think about that.
Okay.
Something that I could spend some time thinking about. Maybe we'll start a for-profit art gallery, but yeah.
There you go. Okay.
Other questions for Audie? Okay, maybe you can get some more intelligence on the grant.
Absolutely.
Push them, maybe they can.
Absolutely. I'll do
Yeah.
some skywriting.
Obviously, we'd like to know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Feel better.
Get better.
Thank you.
Okay, Emily, please, Emily, health and wellness, which is page, variance sheet 20 or 54 in the budget book.
Page with one parentheses.
So we're looking
There's a couple like
at
that. Wasn't
a
quite
net change
formatted.
favorable of $15,454. Looks like contractual and regular pay. Contracted services is the big driver here. And grants, so line
472.
472 and 2705. Does that compute? Yeah.
I don't have the numbers, but I have the budget in front of me. So yeah,
Okay,
I think
line
I know.
472,
Yep, okay, yeah.
the cost is going
8,000.
favorable, $8,950.
Mhm.
Contracted services is going down. Why is that?
Part of it is that I have not spent the contracted services budget from previous years, so I've underspent in that line. And then I'm doing a lot, so the contracted services is for communications for Live Well Kingston and my department, and I'm doing a lot of that work. So previously, when my position was applied for a grant, also from the Novo Foundation, part of that grant application was for communications. When I got hired, I had a background in communications, so we allocated some of that money so that I could go full-time. So I'm doing a lot more of that communications work, so that's part of it.
Okay. And an increase in grants of $9,835.
Right.
Line 2705.
So similarly to Addie, I have reapplied to the Nova Foundation for 2 more years of funding. I feel very optimistic that I'm going to get that funding again because they have paid for me in the past. We have every reason to believe that they're going to fund me again. They've been very supportive of our program.
Is it Noble
Sorry,
or
what
Noble?
foundation?
Novo, N-O-V-O. It's a local foundation. Yeah.
N-O-V-O, yeah.
Yeah.
So that would be a continuation.
Right. For
And
2 more
and
years.
you
of
find
funding.
out the end of November as well?
But we have every reason to think that they're going to fund us. We have no reason to believe that they're not. They've been very supportive. We've met with them in person. We've gone through our budgets. They invited us to apply. They don't invite people that they don't seem favorable to apply.
Us, you mean your department or department?
I'm going to include,
Specifically.
I mean, my
Yeah.
department and I think Addie too. I think
But
that
her department has never been funded, so you have been.
I have been
So-
funded, yes, that's true. Thank you for that clarification.
And a smaller grant from New York State.
That is part of my pedestrian bicycle master plan. So we applied for a grant from the New York State CFAs, Consolidated Funding Applications, and we got a grant for the bicycle pedestrian master plan. And this is the compensation for my hours to work on that.
Mhm. So in large total, basically your favorable variance of $15,454 is driven mostly by the contracted services going down and 2 grants that are going up.
We like favorable variance.
Favorable thing, yeah.
As long as we get that grant.
Line 462, we're
Right.
spending a little bit more on dues, seminars, and fees, association fees.
Yep, that's correct.
Okay. Yeah, we like positive variances, yeah.
Keep those grants coming in.
Particularly if they're coming in grants.
What kind of dues, fees, and seminars are you plan on attending for 2000?
Line 462, he's asking.
So very recently, I came to the Finance Committee to move
That's the one
funding
you
to
asked
go
for.
to the Food Systems Conference that I just attended. Looking into the next year, I would like to get education on health systems and maybe some travel systems. So Live Well Kingston is the commission for the city that looks at health, and we have 5 focus teams. Eat well, play well, travel well, heal well, age well. So I just went to the Food Systems Conference, which was part of Eat Well. I'm interested in getting more education around health systems and transportation systems. So it kind of fits into those different parts of health that I work with.
And just to clarify, so by making you full-time, which we approved last year, we ended up saving money this year because there were things that we would have had to contract out.
Right. We would have done, so I'm doing a lot of the social media posts. We did in fact hire a marketing company to do blog posts on the Live Well Kingston website. That was a good relationship, but I have a communications subcommittee of my Live Well Kingston Commission, and they are trying to assess and decide what communications we'll do going forward. So I'm doing more of it, and we're hiring people to do less. That's right.
Okay. Other questions on health and wellness?
Will you just be able to let John know about the grant?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I'll be the first to know.
Thank you.
Good. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
What we got now?
Moving now to summer.
30 more to go.
Yeah, talk fast.
This is sheet number 15 or page 42 in the budget book. So, total expenses are down $19,049 from the previous year. Mostly from our line 822, hospital and medical. How'd that come about?
You're still at health?
That's just the plan that the person is on.
Yeah,
Yeah. They're probably on individual coverage.
right.
And then they got And then they got onto a joint plan or something like that?
We budget an individual plan for next year.
What was the previous plan?
Probably family.
Probably family.
Family. We only have two types of plans,
Yeah,
individual and family.
okay. So you're going from family to individual?
I think it was the previous person who held my position who probably had a different plan.
Yeah, when we have a vacant position, we'll often.
So I started in December of
Yeah.
last year, so that's
Okay,
what
got
it
it.
was.
Oh,
Okay,
okay, makes sense.
okay. But personal services, contractual, service contracts going down $6,500. Line 471.
So I don't think that I think I've just moved things to different lines. I put some money in equipment for a camera, but I'm not asking for any more money.
3,000 in contracted services.
The contracted service line is actually down $800 year over year from the original budget to recommended budget.
Was the 472 just a shift of money from 471, just changed what line that's under, or is that the same thing? Like, is that a...
Service contract.
Because 471 dropped
Contracted
6,500, or 472 went from 0 to 3,000. Was something just shifted to that? Or is that something new?
Yeah, it looks like if you're looking at the budget book, 471, 472, summer requested 4,000, and then it was added that extra line to the 1,000 and 3,000.
So that's
Yeah,
the
there was
breakout.
a breakdown of that request into those two lines.
Yeah, so it's not actually $6,500. It's actually $2,500, right?
Yeah, 35.
3,500.
Yeah. Just still good.
Yeah. She's down.
And then minus the 800 is still down.
Yeah. So it's like 2,700.
It's a favorable variance.
Anything else?
Okay.
Very easy one for you.
Thanks so
We're being
much.
nice to people.
Thank you.
Keep it up.
Oh, there's nothing else.
Okay. Who on with Jackie?
We're saving it for the engineer's office.
Personnel and civil service, which is sheet 13, which is the back sheet of the first packet.
Good.
Next. And that's page 37 in the budget book. So sheet 13, page 37 in the budget book. Unfavorable, bottom line unfavorable is by $24,698. A good piece of that is in line 101, regular pay, and 821, hospital and medical. So is there an additional,
No, it's not.
line 101, regular pay is $6,660.
That's just contractual.
Contractual.
That's contractual, yeah. Okay. And 821, hospital and medical, that's $20,970.
Somebody must-
That may be because we had a full-timer come on a year ago, halfway through. So we were only 2 people in our office a year ago. And then July of 2018, we went to 3 employees.
Just the hospital.
Otherwise, it's been the same.
Yeah, that's the big change.
Those are the two major changes. That total, together, they total about $26,000, which is almost the bottom line. It puts and take in between, but those are the two principal items. Anybody see anything else?
Glad you're advertising on
Yeah.
460.
464?
Advertising, we increased for the sake of advertising for jobs. Because we seem to be having some difficulty getting recruitment for jobs when there's vacancies. So we thought maybe if we could run in the paper. It wasn't as much as I was asking for.
Yeah, 2,000.
Because if we advertise online, it gets pretty expensive. We're doing the free ones, and we're not really getting much activity on it, so we thought if we start increasing the advertising, might get some better results.
So where's it going to the Freeman?
Yeah, we get requests a lot for why we don't advertise in the Freeman. I usually don't have a budget for that.
Oh,
The advertising that was there, yeah, we very rarely used it. The $250 doesn't cover much of anything.
Just blast them all at one time in the big back of the paper. Sunday too.
Yeah.
She's not here.
What about exam fees? That went down. Why is that?
Exam fees is based on what exams we're giving. So last year we gave the police exam. Typically that's a pretty expensive exam for us, but the way we're doing it now, we give the attorney first. It's cut down on that expense.
So that's cyclical.
Greatly.
That kind of just year to year.
This year we plan on giving the firefighter, so that will be a big one.
Now, do you advertise? So that's it. We just said it. So it's never really in the Freeman. This is all online.
No, so if we have this, it's good because our
Because I used to get some calls, and I'm like, and he's like, we never see advertisement for it, and I'm like,
we put it on the website. We send it out to the school districts. You know, it would be nice to get into a newspaper.
So is that gonna, you can be able to advertise that with this stuff?
Yeah, yeah.
So just jobs and exams?
Yeah, it'll probably mostly be exams, like, because we don't have too many jobs that often, but last year we seemed to have a lot, and we weren't getting very good responses.
And
451 appointed officials, that went down quite a bit.
We pay proctors, but since our office staff primarily does the proctoring, it comes out of the overtime. Finding proctors to work on a Saturday to take exams, not the easiest thing, especially $10 an hour. No one wants to do it for Saturday.
What? I will.
Remember that.
I wasn't sure about that. That floats.
You need a job, right?
Desperate. We'll be competing. We'll be bidding. I'll do it for 8. Andrew, you take it.
Okay,
Can you talk about line 220, 2220,
revenue.
revenue?
Charge to other governments.
That is what we get from the school district for administering civil service to them. They are required by law to pay the city of Kingston for civil service administration. We give the exams and we do payroll certification for the school district.
Thank you.
now the exams is for like teachers. That's
No, civil service positions.
That's right.
Secretaries,
Yeah, okay.
cleaners,
Yeah.
custodians, anything that has to do with civil service. And then we do payroll certification annually with them.
Thank you.
Anything else? Thanks, Jackie.
Thanks.
Dan?
Thanks, Jackie.
Assessment?
Hold on, Doug.
Can I make a suggestion to let poor Kristen go next because she's sitting here, she's struggling.
Because what?
Could we let Kristen
quite
go
sick.
next? She's really not feeling well,
Oh,
obviously, and
All right.
just
sure.
as a courtesy, if nobody else minds, let her
Absolutely.
jump in ahead.
Absolutely. So we're going to Kristen, grants management,
Yeah, right, that too, yeah, no, that's a real reason.
variance sheet 9, which is
No one objects to that, I hope. I mean, be pushy.
62 in the budget book.
Sorry.
Seems like she always gets sick on the budget.
This budget makes her sick.
Yeah.
No, it's because she knows she gets to go earlier.
Yeah, I think she did that last year.
Oh, it's the
Grant management
We're on to
shows
you.
positive variance of $11,509. That's good.
always like that.
Some contractual increase, no change in head count. That's contractual, John, the regular pay, line 101.
All of the employees
Yeah,
are
that's all-
listed over on
that's-
page
yes.
63, it's the same employees
Same, okay.
Yeah, so it's
for the same number
contractual.
of positions.
So,
Every time you accept.
The big difference is that grant, the
The grant.
revenue on that grant.
Yeah, it's increasing by 20,000.
the big one is the grant,
Yeah,
New York State grant, $20,000
It's not Nova, is it?
338.
A lot of that
We're not
is
waiting for
because
that.
we will be implementing Broadway next year, and some of the Devon and I started grant that we have to wait until we're all done with everything to get the reimbursement for several years of time.
So this is Broadway Suites.
Yes.
Mhm.
Well, it also had Kingston Point Rail Trail and Cornell Street.
All of that grant.
It was called the Kingston Connectivity Grant and had many different projects all wrapped up into one.
Cool. So that's automatic. We don't have to wait for that one.
Yeah.
We don't have to wait for news on that one.
No, that one,
That's for sure. Thanks.
461, the travel reimbursement went up quite a bit. Are you doing more?
we didn't go to any conferences this year. And Ruth Ann did go to a few meetings for the Regional Economic Development Council, but we would like to go to a conference this year on grant best management practices for grants. So we're looking into that, and that's what increased the travel cost.
$800.
That would be both of you going, or?
I think it would be both of us. Yeah.
Okay. We get an increase in $20,000 in grants, offset by expenses of $8,491, giving you a positive $11,509. Other than that, you see anything else that I want to more information on? Small increases going through contracted expenses totaling $2,606.
Line 411, consultants, can you talk about that?
Yeah, that's for consultants that sometimes we need to procure for generally engineering reports that we need to produce for a grant application. So for example, for our Dietz Stadium CFA application this past year, we had to produce an engineering report or feasibility study, and that cost, I think it was like $4,000 or $5,000 to be able to submit the application. The application was for a $5 million project. So
Where did we end up getting the money from?
well, last year it came out of this $9,794. So that's generally what that is for. We also spent some of the $9,000 on a sewer investigation on Henry Street this past year. So it's really for unanticipated consultant expenses related to grant projects.
So you requested 20,000. 10,000 gonna. I mean, you have. Sorry.
Sorry, you can keep asking.
You have a lot of projects coming this year. I mean, is 10,000 gonna really cover?
I requested 20,000, but in discussion with Mayor and John, really we
moved 10,000 over to sewer.
To sewer, right?
Because
To DPW.
a lot of the projects are sewer related, so we put the money in the sewer fund.
Oh,
So basically, it's the same 20. It's just moved.
Okay, anything else for Christie?
So
Thank you for showing up at your presentation.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I actually was fine all day, and I don't know if 6 o'clock hit.
Thank you.
All right.
Now Dan.
Is it alright if John goes next? He's good.
That's fine, sure. Okay, so we'll go to engineer, which is,
Clubhouse breaking loose here. We're out of control, we're out of order.
hey, that's variance sheet number 10,
I don't understand why it's in alphabetical order.
39 in the budget book. Variance sheet 10, which shows bottom line unfavorable, $19,335.
Regular pen.
Regular pay.
Yep.
They increased the employee.
Yeah.
I did, yeah. So we had our new engineering aide started June of this year, so he was only on the books for half of last year, which next year be a full year.
So this is a full-time employee?
Yes.
That part of his salary comes from another department?
That's right. He's 75% engineering and 25% from the sewer fund.
He started in June of 2019.
That's right.
What's his duties?
He's an engineering aide, so what he's been working on is working as in the field quite a lot for our construction projects, such as the rail trail, such as Jacobs Valley. He's also very good with the GIS system, which we're using to map sewer lines, storm drainage lines, those sorts of things. He's also taking on a project management role for upcoming projects. He's learning to work with DOT on the upcoming Flatbush Foxhall project.
Let's get that right.
He'd do anything that I ask him to do, so he's been a real asset.
Is he young?
Yeah, he's
Yes.
reasonably young.
Mr. Krupp, right?
That's right.
What's his first name?
Greg.
Greg.
He's like 12 years old.
He's doing family. He's doing individual
Yeah,
coverage.
so he'll be really hard to
He's not
budget
doing
for in about
family.
40 years. He'll be making a lot of money.
The hospital and medical.
Was one of them a part-time that went to full-time?
So we had, last year, at the end of 2018, our part-time employee left. And
Oh,
that's,
okay.
and we didn't know at that time, and when preparing the
Oh, okay, so it
19
wasn't
budget,
sure.
how that
Gotcha.
would shake out. So that money ended up, the 20,470 that
That's
wasn't
going, yeah,
part-time
part-time.
is being used to pay half of a full-time, half a year for full-time guy. Great.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And it's Greg Krupp?
Yep.
Yeah, he's a really nice guy.
Line 206, computer software. You're not spending any money on computer software? I mean, that's favorable, 5,000.
Right, yeah, no, I guess we didn't use much this year, so we did have to increase 412 data processing support.
Yep.
A big part of that is the eMaint, which is the citywide asset management software, which is going to track everything from every vehicle and every pump down at the wastewater plant, and even value of buildings and components of buildings and things like that.
So it's essentially a transfer from 206 to 412,
In large part, yes.
which nets out to a couple $100 unfavorable. Storage, data processing, computer software, employee benefits going up contractually? No. Part of that is,
Yeah, I think when it was a part-time
No benefits.
person, the benefits, the person did not have benefits.
okay, yeah, hospital 821. So that's associated with the
Full-time.
engineering aid, right?
Mhm.
Okay. I think that's it. Anybody see anything else? Question? Oh, line 3389, New York State grant.
Yeah.
3389.
Yes. Trying to recall what that revenue source is. Do you know, John?
That would be salary reimbursements for your staff,
Oh.
for time spent on
Right,
grants.
okay, so that, yeah, going forward, a lot of the grants we work on do have the opportunity to utilize, force account labor.
What about fees and miscellaneous? What types of things?
Well, in the past, we would charge $5 for a copy of a map or something like that. We found it was, do that 5 times a year maybe,
Okay.
it wasn't worth keeping track of,
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's more paperwork than.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, John.
Okay, Dave, put it all long enough.
He got dropped 2 spots in the batting order.
We're going to, let's see where we're going. We're going to number 1. Variance sheet number 1.
Page 39.
Page 29.
39.
39?
This is the engineer, right?
No, assessment.
Oh, so fast.
We just did that.
Sorry.
Go to
quickly
page
you forget
29.
All right, yeah.
It's the first variance sheet. First thing that hits us is an increase in regular pay, 45,741, line 101.
Yeah, so that is
Part-time to full-time.
our part-time data collector to go full-time. We've just seen a tremendous, potentially tripling of the permits that we need to account for since 2015. So it is just like the building department that they've needed some extra help of late to manage the volume that they have there. We have that same volume because what happens is once that permit is taken at the building department, we then too have to evaluate those permits to see if there's added value to the assessment roll or that specific parcel. So we have to collect that data and then make a decision whether it adds value to the parcel. And so just like the building department, we have to process those same permits.
So you get a permit now. The building department gets it. You get it.
Correct. We enter it into our system.
That's being touched by 2 different departments.
Correct. Yeah.
I got a question though. Is that number right? Cause it looks like it's only half the person in your department, and that's 41,571. That's just for half. I
See
mean,
the
that's an
part-time employees?
$82,000.
That's a full-time job now.
Yeah, it went
'Cause it went from half.
It went from part-time to
Part-time employees went down to 0. Are you seeing that?
Oh, the data. Oh, the half was from. Oh, I see. That was from 19 to. I see. Okay. All right, my fault. I thought that was where they sometimes break up the departments, but no, that's right. I get it. I'm sorry. I stand corrected. Never mind.
So that's Hunsberger, is that Mr. or Ms.?
Ada Huntsberger, correct. And she's worked for the city in multiple capacities. She was a intern for Kristen Wilson for an extended period of time. She was also an intern for DPW. She is a graduate of New Paltz in planning, and she's also working on her master's right now at University of Albany in planning. So she's been an asset to the city for a long period of time, and I like to keep her institutional knowledge. Not to mention she's an excellent worker and a real asset to my office.
She's married.
Yes, she is. Yes.
I see the big jump in medical.
Oh.
I can't speak to as to what if she does go full time. I can't speak to
Tony, next time cover that up.
What I can't speak to what health benefits she would choose, and wasn't necessarily a decision making process as to getting a full time employee there. It's desperately needed, and so we have to budget for I guess what could be in that line.
No, I don't know. I'm still confused. Now, was her part-time pay in another department last year?
No.
Because it says, because it still has nothing listed for 2019 in the modified budget.
I mean,
So it's
here,
jumping to 41.
It shows 19,825.
Look at
on page
112 on
29 of the
the-
budget.
Look at the previous
I'm looking at
page.
page 30.
Look at page 29.
Oh, that's only going to show the full-time. If you go to page 29, line 112, part-time employees, you'll see the 19,825 bill.
Okay.
For the budget, revised budget, and then 0
Okay,
for
so she's
the
going
20.
from 19 to the 41
Yeah,
as
we
opposed to.
only put the full-time employees on the salary schedules.
All right, so I don't have to. So I shouldn't be paying attention to the individual ones where they're listed on page 30.
You can we just have the full-time employees there, and then
Okay, so since she wasn't full-time last
Prior
year,
year,
her number's not
would
listed.
not.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct, but the part-time salaries are there on
Okay.
in the budget.
All right, I
last
see
year.
it. Gotcha. All right, now I'm clear.
Another question?
No, I said now I'm clear.
Oh, okay.
I got it now.
Clear,
Took
okay.
me
Dan, can you
two
talk about the
rounds.
consultant line, please, for 411?
Sure, that consultant line is for legal consultation for our tax certs that we handle in-house. So we have counsel that assists with those tax certiorari proceedings, in addition to a small amount for some reassessment services, and in addition to that, appraisal services. If we get to the point in the tax certiorari proceedings where the judge orders an appraisal, we then have to go out and get an appraisal for that. And just to give you some perspective, in 2009 and 2010, the consultant's line spent $186,000. When I got here in 2011, I went to 82, and 2013 to 52. 2017, we dropped it to 27. So that line, what we really tried to do is continually get that line down. But it's to a point right now where I think we're at a level where we can, try to do a good job managing at that level. We're always going to have, unfortunately, tax certiorari proceedings in the city. That's just a business model that some property owners, have. They will file, and we have to defend those. We have to defend those assessed values. So those expenses are going to be there, unfortunately.
Thank you.
And we have to defend those.
I remember that, because that was my first year in, that was when you first came, and the tax certs were like ridiculous. I mean, that was like your full-time job. I mean, it was every budget meeting, right? We had, how many did we have? It was like every one we just, and
When I got here in
he did a
2011,
good job knocking them down, so that wasn't just an ongoing running thing. I mean, that was incredible, that first few years. It was like,
we had about 110 of them, I believe.
yeah, it was crazy.
We knocked a lot of them out. I think we're floating around 15 or 20.
So these are people challenging their assessment?
Correct. Typically,
A lot of bigger
commercial
ones, right?
Typically,
Yeah.
commercial property owners.
Like the one that you just
At a
had
larger
at
scale.
the hotel.
Thank you.
Questions for Dan? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I see your vehicle maintenance didn't go up.
Or you can go home, you can go next.
Everybody else's vehicle maintenance went up, except yours.
Oh, well, I happen to have.
We'll slip a couple hundred in there for him.
The City Hall vehicle, which is a newer vehicle, and it's under a service contract.
I was just kidding around.
Okay,
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
let's move to Kevin. Club Council, which is, let's see, we are on balance sheet number 7, 35 in the budget book. Page 7, sheet 7. Okay, sheet 7, which shows favorable variance of $10,555.
You like that?
In terms of personal services, we're looking, it looks like contractual changes.
When you look at our budget, I guess the significant thing would be the reduction in the consultant line.
411.
And at this point, just call it wishful thinking.
That's what?
Wishful thinking.
You mean it's not going to happen?
We're going to do our best. We hope it will.
Oh, all right.
Did you use the 100,000 last year? Or you just think it's gonna be less?
So reduce it to 411, offset by KHA reimbursement going to 0.
Right. They have their own council now.
Huh. So you're up $10,555. No, you're down 10,500, favorable. Driven by the consultants down, offset by KHA. Those are the two major pieces. Other than that, you have contractual unfavorables and retirement, and that's basically it. Right?
Not a whole lot to talk about.
Yeah.
As long as you're comfortable with that consultant figure, though. Sounds like you're kind of borderline.
Just sit there.
We'll see how it goes.
See how it goes.
You requested the 100.
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
And what is exactly is that? Is this hiring lawyers who do a specific type of work?
And we have outside counsel that handle anywhere from labor as well as some of the suits that we've initiated. So yes, it's for outside counsel that are specializing in this area, and the money that we've spent, they're not on small cases.
It's not on the small cases.
They're not on
Do you and Dan plan on picking up some more of that work? Is that what you're saying?
No, there's a matter that we're hoping is going to resolve in our favor, and there shouldn't be any unnecessary expenses.
Thank you.
Anything else?
No, sir.
It's always a pleasure.
Thank you, Kevin. Brenda. Brenda is sheet number 8.
Page 60.
What?
Page 60.
Thank you.
It shows unfavorable by $19,503.
Increase in employees. Why?
I didn't hear what you said, Tony.
Increase in employees.
So it's been the same number of employees and the same salaries. We just demonstrated it differently. This year we're showing the full salaries with an offset in revenue rather than the portion. I don't really know if you remember that giant spreadsheet that I shared with you last year about all the different funds that fund our office. Last year we only showed what was here and then it was due from the other funds, right?
Yeah, we thought it would be, at least my suggestion was to show all the employees on here and just to make it as transparent as possible, to show every employee who reports to that office, and then those employees where their salaries are reimbursed by another organization or entity, the reimbursements would be reflected here. So like you have a KLDC reimbursement, that's a new line. The CDBG reimbursement's a new line, and the Kingston Community Land Bank's a new line. And the reason for that is ultimately these employees are employees of the city of Kingston. They're on our payroll. We issue their W-2s. They're our employees. So ultimately they're our responsibility. So that's why you have them all listed on the salary schedule this year. And
in previous years they weren't, because it says 5.66.
Right. In previous years they would be on here fractionally.
Okay.
Right. So like if an employee was picked up 2/3 by the city of Kingston and 1/3 by an outside entity, you would have 2/3 of their salary here. Now we're showing the full salary, but we're also showing the reimbursement from the other entity. So it does net out.
Yeah, so you have those things netting out, but the unfavorable 19,503 is, most of that is probably.
Where's that coming from?
That's probably mostly in employee benefits, like 821. I mean, some things net out, just like you say, but one thing that's real
Something's got to happen.
is
Hospital and
hospital now going up 37,000.
I mean, some of it, the city had it shared to begin with, so you have contractual increases of salaries, you have contractual increases of benefits.
The KLDC one, Brent, is that, you said that's a new one, is that, but that's your short of that one?
It's
or-
been,
Oh, I thought that was a new one.
no, the land bank is new, but the KLDC and the CDBG reimbursement
Okay,
have
KCM.
been going on prior to this year, just
Gotcha.
they've been illustrated differently, that's all.
Okay.
Can you explain the other two grants that you're not getting? I mean, there's,
So the New York State grant, the 436, most of that, there were a few miscellaneous things, but most of that was our lead service line replacement program. And I anticipate that we're going to get that again, but I'm not going to put it in there until I know for sure.
okay.
So the revenue could be much more significant than I'm showing here. Same with, I did also put in for a Brownfield Opportunity Area grant through the New York State Consolidated Funding Application process last year, or this past July. We won't know until December, so that potential revenue is not listed here either.
But those, if you get those monies, they would be going
Yes,
towards this.
yes, we would notify John, we would do a budget transfer,
So that
put
could
money into
change
the revenue.
dramatically to the good. Cool.
So the lead replacement, you're not putting in here because you haven't gotten it, right?
No, so we had this $544,000 for lead service line replacement program, and then Steve Knox left my office and became head of building safety, and I hired a new housing rehab specialist, but he had to get up to speed on community development block grant program and this lead service line replacement program, so the lead program kind of languished a little bit. We have now caught up mostly, but we still have maybe a quarter to a third to spend down in the spring. The weather's too bad to keep working on, tearing up asphalt and working in the cold weather with plumbing and stuff. So we're going to finish that up next year. The funding agency, New York State Department of Health, has asked us to request an extension. I think once we get to that point in the spring, they'll probably, or in the interim, they'll likely offer us more money. We were asked to apply last, so we're probably going to be asked to apply again.
Just like with Emily, they're not gonna ask you and then not.
Right.
you know.
Just kidding.
Yeah, we just wanna waste your time.
Okay. Anybody, anything else?
So where would these have shown up before, John, these revenues? They would have had their own and...
They weren't even part of this budget because the KLDC is a separate entity in the community development. It's not part of the city budget. So the revenues wouldn't have been here and the expenses wouldn't have been in this. So neither side of it would have been in here.
So you're just showing it for transparency, right, John?
Transparency and quite frankly, it's a lot easier for me to follow because in the past we've had all these fractional employees. And to me, it's a lot easier. You can even see on page 61 of the budget how in 2020 we have 7 employees. To me, if I'm the leader of this document, it's a lot easier to see, okay, who works in this office? All right, here they are. Here's 7 full-time employees. Where are the monies coming from? And then you can look down and see the 3 entities where there's incoming monies from.
So you really don't have 7 employees showing on here?
Well, and the other side of it too is before you didn't see the full salary, right? That you saw fractional salary. So this way we're also putting out full salary of every employee who works in that department.
That the
Because they are,
rehab,
once again, City of Kingston employees.
rehab specialist is not showing a name, nor is their project manager.
We have vacant positions.
Okay.
Well, the housing rehab specialist vacant position has been filled since this was submitted in October.
How about the other one?
So Bill Heyman is our new housing rehab specialist.
How about the project manager?
Project manager has not been hired yet, so there is no name associated with that.
But you still put it in the budget, right?
Yes.
Are you hoping to hire that position this year?
Yes.
Can you explain what the project manager would be responsible for?
Any number of things from helping to move capital projects forward to implementing a business retention and expansion program, anywhere we need help. But that's the generality of the project management description is they have certain skills to move projects forward. They're not experts in any one thing, but they're able to help.
How are you getting along without him?
It could be better. We don't
A full-time position better?
Yes. we don't do enough business retention and expansion. We don't do enough door knocking to say, hi, how are you? How can we make your employment or your business better here? And we do, the mayor does a lot of economic development himself. We don't have a lot of staff to put feet on the ground to do that. The environment here is great. We're attracting a lot of new commercial entities and new businesses, but we'd like to also support the companies, the small businesses that are here now. But that's just one area of project management.
And how would you do that? Similar to the Chamber of Commerce?
That would be one area of outreach, but it wouldn't be the only. It would be a lot of cold calling and knocking on doors and walking into a business and saying, hi, this is who we are, how are you, how can we help you? We don't have a lot of in-house resources in our office to say, here's $10,000 to help you, with your gap in your expansion project, or here's $1 million or whatever. But we do have a lot of connections with state representatives and county representatives, to like the IDA or Empire State Development, to help fill those gaps. And
So
we would be like the connection, we're the matchmaker.
So why is that not utilized? Like, why are we not teaming up and partnering our
We do.
sourcing with, what you just said?
Chamber of Commerce.
Chamber of Commerce. And saying chamber, you let these people know, and I'm not sure, I'm not saying you don't do it, but isn't that a way to utilize our buck to the best and outsourcing and, using the Chamber of Commerce to our advantage?
Maybe we split a project manager.
I'm sorry.
With the chamber.
The chamber doesn't really, so the chamber is a lot of networking, but as far as getting a business owner in the room with the city planner, building safety, Ulster County representatives, potential state financial resources, that's not what the chamber does. That's what I would like to do. It's what the county economic development office does, and we do work with them a lot, but we could do more. We have monthly meetings with Ulster County Department of Labor, the Office of Employment Training, Ulster County Economic Development. We keep each other apprised on what's going on and where we can help each other, but again, we could do more.
We'd be more proactive, you're
Yes,
saying.
right, rather than
Do the reactive work and
right.
want to step up and proactive with another body.
Right.
Randy, 2 grant lines, the total almost $800,000 that are going to zero. Are these grants that are ending up in grant management?
Redeveloping.
Some, but
They're big hits. What's happening there?
So some of it is revenue that's going to be showing up in grants management, but the 265 was actually part of how we listed the CDBG revenue to the office. So that's one of the ways that instead of the CDBG reimbursement that you see this year, some of that was in that. And the $400,000, the lead service line replacement program that I mentioned, that I'm not putting in this year until we know for sure if we're getting more money. Did that answer your question?
I'm not sure. Say that again. The 436.
That was budgeted for the lead service line replacement program revenue that I'm not putting in, but we could potentially have that next year, but I won't do it until we know for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike a couple of departments where they put it in there and we don't yet have it, she's being more conservative, but the hope is that we're still going to get it.
Thank you for doing that.
Right?
No, really.
No, it's just a little.
It's the way it should be done.
It's the worst case scenario as opposed to.
It was based on a conversation with the mayor and John.
All right. And the rehab specialists, they go in and look at vacant buildings and do what?
So we have a housing rehab program that's funded through our community development block grant funds. It's a $25,000 forgivable loan for single-family owner-occupied residents in the city to address, it's my elevator speech, to address code violations, health and safety hazards, and major systems repairs. And so that in itself is a full-time job. The lead service line replacement program, has been to date another full-time job. And so with that, all of that continuing, at least the CDBG for sure, and potentially probably the lead service line replacement program, on top of that, we're beginning the land bank work. So our staff is also the land bank staff. And
Oh,
so
it is?
Yeah, so there's going to be an incredible amount of work coming up, and 2 people will likely not be enough, but we need
Now,
to
doesn't
start.
Rubco have these type of employees already, and can we utilize them?
No, they already have full-time work themselves. They have other funding other than CDBG and New York State Department of Health. They have AHC, Affordable Housing Corporation. They have NRP, Neighborhood Revitalization Program, some federal, some states. They have loads of funding themselves that they have to implement for housing rehab. And with our focus in Kingston, they're able to use those resources further outside of the city in the rest of the county.
I have one question. You said your staff is also the land bank staff.
Mm-hmm.
Would that always be the case, or will the land bank eventually have its own?
It's too new to answer that question. Sorry. We just started the land bank a year ago this month. We've spent this last 11 and a half months in internal development, developing policies, and so now we get to start actual hard work on the properties. So until that starts, I'm not really sure where that's going to be headed. It could be, or we could just make our department larger and continue it being city staff as the land bank staff.
Now, you said they because we have this staff, they can go elsewhere in the county and do their
Yeah,
job.
they still do work in the city, of course, but
Why aren't we asking them to come into the city, or why aren't they coming into the city and helping us?
They are.
Instead of going outward.
They are. I'm just saying that because we have these resources, their resources can go farther in the county. They still have a strong focus in the city of Kingston.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else for Brenna? Okay, thank you. We're gonna move down to Elisa's got a whole bunch of departments here, including not only the ones that are listed on the order, but she will also discuss common council and round out landing jobs, right?
Ooh. Which one you gonna do first, Elise?
So let's start with the city clerk, which is there in sheet number 4.
Jim won't be here, huh?
Everybody can see.
Take care.
Bye-bye,
Have a good
thank
night. Where do we do? Starting
Sheet
with?
number 4.
Sheet number 4. She has several.
I don't do this. It's
Page 33 in the book.
Thank you.
33 in the book. This is kind of messed up the way it's printed out.
It's full-time bilingual clerk, that's why the increase in regular pay.
Correct.
It went from a part-time to full-time, right?
Yep. And that, the part-time position has been a part-time position for many years in the office.
Which is great that we have a bilingual in person. And my question up to that, is she the only bilingual person in the city?
No, we actually, Kristen is bilingual, Kristen Wilson. She's
All
just
right.
not
But
always.
in City Hall?
Yeah.
Nowhere else?
In City Hall, Kristen and Annette in Brenna's office. She's also bilingual.
Rec
She's
department?
not always there. Huh?
Rec department, anybody?
I don't.
Rec
I
department.
can only speak from.
Police,
for
yeah, okay.
here.
That's
I
all
have no
right,
idea.
all right. I just had to throw that out
But
there.
I will say that Maria is amazing and she's very helpful. She's helped out with Incorporation Council. Sometimes Janet will have someone that she can't communicate with. Everything that's on our website that's in Spanish, Maria has translated.
So it's a need.
It is a need. It's definitely a need.
I was her
Yeah.
teacher, that's why.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Did you teach Spanish?
No. Yeah. I've been holding back.
Keep some under your sleeve.
Mm-hmm. That's the major difference there in this bid service. And then you have clerk fees going up. $4,000.
Yeah, so in
Anticipating.
addition to the new fees for municipal ID, we
Okay.
now have made our 507th municipal ID since we started.
How many?
507?
507
Wow.
Yep.
IDs.
Yeah. And so DMV recently changed the requirements that to renew your license, you need a certified birth certificate. So everyone in the city of Kingston is coming into our office to get certified birth certificates.
So what did it used to be?
Well, you didn't need a certified copy of your birth certificate.
You just needed your birth certificate.
I don't know what you needed.
I
but
don't know.
For renewal?
To renew,
Birth certificate.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Now
I need to renew mine next week.
You have to come up.
You need
Maybe-
that.
You better get in there tomorrow to get a birth certificate.
I don't even know if I have a certified
Actually, I
birth
need to do it
certificate.
by
It's
Saturday.
like 15,000 people gonna come through your front door.
We have been very busy since it changed on January 1st, so that's
And it's a fee
Oh,
to
wow.
that. It's a fee.
$10, yeah. We don't control that, that's controlled by the state.
I'm renewing mine on Saturday, so I'm very happy.
And that's just to renew your license?
Or to get the enhanced, whatever you're doing with your license, yes, you now need a certified copy of your birth certificate.
Wow.
To get your license. Oh, man. That's something.
Yeah, so that has made us very busy.
Are more people getting married, or is just married licenses have gone up?
No fee increase, we don't control that, that's also through the state. So, yeah, we get a lot of marriages. Several.
How many people did the mayor marry this year? I know yesterday he already married a
A
ton.
few hundred, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he's busy.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and he only does them, Monday through Friday, so Tuesday afternoon weddings.
That doesn't sound romantic.
Where do they get married?
Really? You should get-
Usually in chambers.
Just get the old woman at large to
Yeah.
play at the reception.
Play at the reception. I could do that. I'm not the most romantic
He
person.
married someone today.
Really?
You're gonna play along during the ceremony or something.
So municipal IDs is a charge, we're up to $507, and then now this new certified birth certificate.
And they also, if you're gonna, when you renew your license, you also need your marriage license as well. So we have all those too.
Yeah, so.
You need your license now? You need your marriage?
To get the enhanced license, you need a copy of your marriage license.
Oh, for the enhanced.
Really?
And it has to be a photocopy, it has to be the certified copy that has the
Yeah,
ring
in
seal.
terms of.
Wow.
And if it's your second marriage, you need the first one and the second
my
one
God.
to show your name change.
This is a go up, this is
But if
go
you
up
don't
the
change
county.
your name,
Yeah.
so if you never change your name, do you need to?
I don't know if you've never changed your name. I know.
Is that new?
January 1st.
Certified, now you need a certified, what you said?
Marriage license, copy of your marriage license.
Holy cow.
So your total net variance is
41.
unfavorable, $82,940. And that's based, most of that is personnel services.
Medical and pay.
And employee benefits. A
Contractual.
little amount of contracted services offset by a little bit favorable in revenues. So it's basically personnel and employee benefits. Yeah, Phil.
What's the games of chance? I can't believe I didn't notice that last year. What is
So
that?
if you're gonna do bingo, you have to
Oh, so it's like
register.
people that are,
Yeah.
oh, okay. I thought you were like,
Or
you know,
a,
selling
when
like
they
scratch
do,
offs or
Like they
something.
pass around any kind of lottery chance.
Huh.
You're supposed to pass that around. You have to be
We only
registered.
make $150 for that.
Yeah, there's only
Can
one.
Kingston do its own like game of chance, have our own scratch off where we get the
Just do
proceeds?
our
Can we do
own
that?
We'll have to investigate.
That could be, that
Kevin,
could be,
you have to look into that. Could be a lot of people aren't registering their game of chance.
Every Friday, they don't do it.
Do you think everybody's registering their game of chance there?
Scratch off like street.
It's like they're taking
Mary's
a
Avenue,
chance.
Mary's
I think they're
Avenue.
taking a chance on
Oh.
it.
Oh, it's-
John, you have to send out the police. Every 50-50 I want now. Game of chance.
Okay, is that it on city clerk? We go to building maintenance. Big thing there is contracted services going from $333,000 to zero. What is that?
I don't even know what, John, do you know what he's referring to?
Line 301.
I'm sorry.
Line to zero.
Capital outlay.
That was, I believe, for the repairs to the city hall roof.
Yeah.
That was the 19 budget, so that was a insurance reimbursement.
So we don't need a new roof this year.
Um,
Thank goodness.
and that's why it's not a 2020 budget. That was a one-time item.
So then the total,
I have a question. Service contract, what is 471? What is service contracts? Of $30,000. That's
471.
Service contracts?
Yeah, $30,000 been going across since last year. Basically since 2018.
John, do you know which one that is?
The building
You
maintenance
have,
service contract.
it'd be your
Eastern?
elevator would be in there.
Oh,
Have it.
that's,
So it's different than maintenance of building? 'Cause there's 42,000 budget for maintenance of
Yeah.
building and then 30,000 for service contracts.
Correct. They'd be different items.
So, what about building repairs? Have you budgeted money for that?
One line item.
What repairs are you referring to?
Well, in the chambers, maybe. The
Just
paint,
asking
Yeah,
about
that's
that.
what
the
you're just
paintings
asking me.
need,
But I-
the inlays need to be
From
re.
what I understand, that is that's part of a grant that's going to finish that painting.
that'd be maintenance of the building.
That was before I got here. That was from the leak, correct?
I thought we did have money for that.
There is or there isn't, or?
Don't we have money
You don't
for
know?
that that's
I
been
don't
set
know.
aside?
John, do we know if there's any money to fix the chambers?
I thought that
To
was
fix a
part of
chimney?
that.
If
I
it's
had-
not in the operating budget, no, it wouldn't be.
So there's no
I
money?
mean, there might be for the lunettes, there was a small amount of money.
Lunettes.
There's bonding that has been approved. I'd have to go back and look. I don't know if there's any active bond for it right now. Actually, it's in the budget line.
We should put that in the budget.
I think that, I remember asking Sean about that because it was part of the repairs that were being done, so I had to wait until the end, but I thought that.
You would have to touch base with him, but in the budget is it's listed, I believe, as a project. Let me just get to that page.
Are you in charge also of the maintenance of the outside of the building? Who's the gardener?
We don't have one. So right now.
Did you
we
put
have-
one in?
We
Still
don't
going
have.
at that garden thing.
DPW comes up and they take care of what they can. So we don't have a full-time maintenance person. We have, Mike was a part-time cleaner. In this budget, he is being switched to a part-time maintenance helper. So with that will come more responsibility of actually doing some of the maintenance of the building. But right now, we don't have anybody at all who does that.
Did you think about putting a couple $1,000s in your budget for that kind of work?
That is in there to make him go from a cleaner to a part-time maintenance helper. That's in this budget.
So that was part of your thinking?
Myself and the mayor and John, yeah.
Thank you.
So I'm looking up, there is bonding that's been approved for the city hall roof, and according to the city engineer, he has scheduled work for next spring
For what?
for the building.
The council
The
chambers.
the next phase. He would have to give you a little more detail.
That's not in there, right?
It's right here.
So there is money?
On page 14 of the budget.
So there is money involved, available for that?
Yes.
I know Sean said it was part of that project. And it
Part of that
was the
re-roofing
last
tower,
thing to be done.
okay.
Yeah,
All right, because that's it says re-roofing
John,
tower.
Could you get us a timeline on that?
he just said it's spring.
On page 14, Pat?
Yeah.
Go down 2 lines down. You'll see the city hall re-roofing and tower rehab design, the bonding approved. And then
Yeah.
that's the time frame that I received from engineering.
Okay, thanks, John.
You're
Thank you.
Sean, I have a question. On the capital outlay for the roof, I thought you mentioned something about the insurance reimbursement.
That was for the roofing damage. We
Right.
received a reimbursement for that.
Is that anywhere in here though? Because wouldn't that be like a revenue line from that to offset that? Or no?
For 2000,
19.
I can take a look. Give me one second.
Because it's nowhere in this department. I didn't know if that was somewhere else. If that.
here in my the money came in 2018. Appears it was spent in 2019.
Oh, wow. That was how long ago.
What happened? It's not
It's a
leaking.
big project.
The revenue line,
I think we just
3389, New York State grant,
did we put that tar?
goes from 100,000 to
No,
zero.
but when we had the damage, but when it came
The
in.
New York State grant?
2018,
Yeah,
Yeah,
For
so
for building maintenance,
For the insurance.
going from 100,000 to zero.
No, 'cause that
What was that
2018
grant?
budget? Yeah, at the end of 2018. we
That was
got
the
it.
Windows.
And now
It didn't seem like that
2019.
long.
Windows?
That was the window inserts,
Remember,
I
that's when we
believe.
wanted to try to get it because it started.
So
to get
that
bad
was
weather.
on, that was two-sided. So let me just go in.
Where are we now? What are we talking about?
Wait one
3389.
second.
Looking back, 3389, Bill, New York State
Ah.
grant.
Okay.
Went from $100,000 last year to zero in 2020.
Give me one second.
Oh, the windows.
We don't always get grants.
Are those
So
complete?
the 333
They
and
have all been
19
ordered,
for the
and,
contracted services,
um,
just to clarify.
those
230,
have been done.
see the
So
333,000
now it's just
expense?
Getting the actual.
Right, you have
windows.
circled in your
It's like
budget, Tony?
every window.
What line item?
301. 233,000 of that was for the roof, and that was monies that came in at 18. 100,000 of that is the grant down below. It was a 19 grant.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the 333, 233 came in the prior year, and 100 was budgeted for 19.
Okay.
They're two different items.
So for building maintenance, bottom line, we're looking at a positive variance of $241,663, and a lot of that is due to.
Well, the timing of when the monies were,
Yeah.
the grants, but if you look at the total expense of the department, it's gone from 183 in the 2019 budget to 176 in the 20 budget. It's pretty close.
Now, my only other question is electricity, right? Don't we have LEDs all through this building? Yes?
What we do now.
Now.
It just finished being put in.
All right, because it seems like it's only going down to 1,000. You would think that, I thought LEDs would have saved more money than that.
Yeah, so when I'm making that part of the budget, I have to kind of guess what I think it will be. So hopefully it
Okay.
will be more of a savings.
Okay. So bottom line favorable, 241,663, due to the factors John just mentioned, when the money came in and the roof and windows.
All right. What do we next? sir?
Offset by some increase in headcount, 101, and hospital and medical to support the personnel services. Okay? Next would be so many departments here. That's essential printing, which is in the budget, page 44.
It's no change.
And basically,
No
very
change.
little change.
All right. Unallocated insurance.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Next page.
Very little change. 1,000.
Can't get any easier than that.
All right.
We'll spend another 10 minutes on it.
Basically, office supply, well, office supplies
Someone
and
else was here.
service contract. It's favorable, $1,451. Slight reduction in cost. Okay, next is some unallocated insurance.
Page 47.
You're looking at a net change there favorable,
Thank you, Tony.
$49,472, mainly from line items, well,
Mainly
it's in
workers'
contracted expenses.
Comp has gone down.
Comp has gone down near like 44,000, something like that.
And a little rise in multi-payer liability, which I don't know.
The workers' comp, we get a quote from the county. The liability insurance, the multi-peril liability is an estimate. We don't know that for sure until the following year.
So really, guess
We do speak with, we've spoke with John Dwyer and got an idea of what his estimate would be. We take that information and develop in the budget.
Okay.
John, for all the insurances, I know periodically, how often, like, do we commit to like an insurance? Is that an annual thing? Do we look at it every year, look to kind of price it out or bid it out? Or however we do that?
Generally every 3 years, there was money and.
It's got to be coming up, isn't it?
Yeah, it'll be coming up. I believe Elise is working on that. But generally, approximately every 3 years.
Okay.
We do that. I was trying to find that, you're spending money on a consultant to do it, so you want that cost benefit of, if you did it every year, it probably wouldn't be worthwhile, so you try to space it out
Right.
where it's, you're getting enough savings to pay for the cost of the consultant. So yeah, it's every 3 years, and the renewal is July 1 each year. So, the one thing we do know when we're doing this is that we know at least half the cost for 2020 based upon the renewal for that July. Because we actually crossed out the insurance for the period of coverage. So, the 2020 budget is part of the half of the 1920 renewal and half the 2021 renewal.
Right, which we don't yet know.
You don't know that second part of it, right?
You hope it's at least going to be close. And
yeah, and
if we get lucky and it goes down, then that's another.
And what we got from John Dwyer is basically he's expecting a small increase.
Yeah.
That's why you see it going from 753 to 770.
Okay.
Okay.
What's that?
Anything else on unallocated insurance? Let's go to registrar of vital statistics, which looks like a net change favorable of $10,896.
Page 56.
Yeah, sorry, this is page 56 in the budget book.
Vital stats.
Some reduction in part-time employees. $9,128. No part-time employees, and
No,
there's no offset to that.
Right, some of Maria's pay was coming from that office, so now she'll be full-time in the other line. So that's what that is.
Okay.
Cool.
So total expenses are down. 10,896. So it's favorable, the expenses are down 10,896. Grants, no change. Fees and grants, the revenues, no change. So we're mainly as a result of no part-time employees. That's the bulk of the favorable variance of 10,896.
Yep.
Okay.
Is the $5,000 in pay, is that, do you take your pay out of each of these?
Percentage.
You take a percentage out of each one of these?
Yeah.
Okay, on vital statistics. Okay, celebrations, no Memorial Day parade.
What?
That got moved to page 157 to Parks and Rec.
Yeah, so that last week.
Yeah, I think we covered that when we talked about Parks and Rec. But
Yeah.
so that just got moved over.
And that's it for that.
I can see the Facebook rumors now. No Memorial Day
That's
parade.
it.
Yeah.
Straight in the
Okay,
camera.
so,
Way to go, Rennie. Way to
Way to
throw it
go,
out.
Rennie,
Way to
yeah.
throw it out there, Rennie. That's the quote.
Transparency, that's what that's called.
So that's it for celebrations. That's just a movement in the Parks and Rec. Visitor Center, page 71.
No changes.
No change.
Page 71, let's see,
No changes.
At all.
no change. Everything nets out to zero. And no puts and takes, everything's the same.
No change.
Okay? So that's it for the city
No, it
clerk
isn't.
and all the,
I do common
She got to do common council.
why,
And doctors.
you want to take a break and we'll go to Sue and then you can come back?
Whatever you want, I'm here till the end, so if you wanna take Sue, I don't need a break,
What
but.
do you do? You got-
You better.
Sitting over there too.
No, he's done. I just want to give you.
Yeah, he's just here for the entertainment
Be
now.
here.
Yeah, I gotta stay to the end anyway, so it
Okay,
doesn't
let's go
matter.
with Sue. Okay.
Okay.
We'll go with planning, which is page, sheet 14, page 72. Planning. And so net change there of favorable, $13,800.
Like that.
Expenses unfavorable, but grants, revenue's up,
Revenue
right?
is definitely up this year.
Why is the consultant going up $10,000?
Why is-
411. Consultants.
411.
Matter of fact,
Line
you
411.
requested 5,000, they're giving you 20,000.
Because we got the grant from the DEC state.
No, I don't see any grant.
I think this was, Sue, this is where we had talked, the mayor put the money in there for
Developer
the
reimbursement?
related to the developer reimbursement.
All right.
Where it would give you monies to hire a consultant on some of these large projects.
Right.
And then the developer would have to pay for it.
So that's my other question. What's the
So what
development
happens
reimbursement?
is, we pay a consultant, and then the developer reimburses the city.
And developer reimbursement, what's that for? I mean,
That's an offset to that consultant.
Fees. So if we need
Yeah,
expertise
411
that
line,
is
411 line.
not something we have in-house,
mhm.
we're able to hire someone outside. And then,
And we would charge the developer.
yeah.
All right, so that's where that 2020, I see, okay.
I see
Thank you.
the positions. Are we no longer gonna have a historic preservation coordinator? Is that just a different, going under a different?
No, we are. And
Doesn't look like it.
Part-time, part-time.
Oh,
The
just-
request was for full-time and the mayor filled in a part-time.
Show zero though here.
Okay, so it was
So it's
part-time last
part-time
year
and
and
other
it was
things.
staying.
It's not gonna
I
change.
wanted it as full-time, but it's
Oh,
it's
oh,
staying
I
as
see, yeah,
part-time.
I see,
Yeah.
thank you.
I was looking at that one with the individual names, so it threw me again.
So-
I have the hang of it by now, right?
So
Still saying the
expenses
same
are
thing.
unfavorable by $16,200, but the revenues are up 30,000.
Correct.
Fee, line 2115, fees and miscellaneous are up 10,000. What fees and what are they?
For planning board, we have special permits, site plans, subdivisions. Those are the primary fees that are up. And we've already exceeded our fees for this year, so are estimated. So I'm anticipating we're gonna
So it's site maintenance?
be up again.
That's what you said, site maintenance? What is it? What's part of that, site?
Site plan,
Site plan.
subdivision, special permit are the three principal ones.
So they're up year-to-date, and so you're
Oh, yeah,
putting
we've
it in.
exceeded our year-to-date already.
Okay, so you think that will carry over next year?
Yeah.
Line 2684, developer reimbursement, what's that? Going from
just said
0
that.
to 20,000.
That's gonna offset that 20,000 on the consultants
Right.
underneath
Oh,
411.
On line 2684,
268 for a year, it's gonna offset
that's
411.
where it'll be offset on.
Thank you, that's the offset. Okay,
Thank you, Sue.
yeah, I think that, well, let's see, other than that, you have
She has one more department.
Oh,
well,
okay.
expenses
Not going
on
anywhere
property
yet.
acquisition for taxes, that's a change, favorable of $1,500. Let's see, advertising. Less
Yeah, I mean,
advertising.
that's really all that we do because
Yeah.
all of the surplus properties that are taken for non-payment or foreclosed on are being transferred over to
Isn't that
the
same
land
line?
bank. So
Advertising.
we
That's
don't,
page
You don't have
32.
to advertise anymore.
well, we have
Page
to
32 in the
advertise
budget book.
when you're foreclosing on a property, you have to
okay.
advertise. So there are costs for advertising.
Are there any buildings that you're foreclosing on that is not going to the land bank?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
They're taking everything.
I think they're pretty much taking over. Am I correct, John?
As far as I know, they're essentially every building unless there's this, one that's put aside for, Habitat for Humanity or some other special purpose, that they're generally gonna be going to the land bank.
Right.
Residential though, right? Not, is that commercial too?
That I don't know.
You're taking everything.
It's commercial, residential.
I thought it was only
anything
single.
Oh, it is
city
commercial
takes.
too.
They're taking on
I
any
believe there's
property
only
that's.
currently
I thought it
one
was
that's
single.
part of
Single, no?
36 properties.
That's commercial.
That's commercial, yeah.
I thought it was single home, no? It's
There's
gonna be
one,
in-
there is one property
35
that's
out of
commercial.
36 are.
Out
That's
of the
close enough.
36.
But I thought the residential ones had it, they're only single family. They know they could be multi duplexes and all
I
that.
don't know.
I wish
I'm
it
not
would
sure.
move faster.
Yeah, me too.
Sue also has cognizance for Landmarks Commission, which is unfavorable by $150. You don't have a sheet on this.
All right.
And Heritage Area Commission, which is favorable by $50.
Okay.
Excellent.
That's on page
We've
74.
also essentially
Heritage
looked
is
at
saving
it
page
today.
74.
Revenues for
Mexico.
both of those
I
groups
don't know where it's at.
have exceeded what I had
Okay.
put in for
Alright.
2019, so.
But just for sake of completeness, I mentioned those two departments.
They're unlisted, they're not listed, right? You're just throwing them out there?
Heritage.
They're not listed here.
No,
on
you're
this
not
sheet.
listed on the sheet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a list of, on page 27, there's a list of 17, say that again, page sheet 27, there's a listing of 17 departments, which I call all other departments,
All right.
which
We don't need.
we're not discussing specifically.
Okay.
And you could go to them and see where they total favorable $26,400. And most of that is judgments and claims and transfer to community development. Other than that, it's pretty small stuff. A lot of it is just plain zero, $150, $50.
Just plain zero.
And that's all lumped together for some favorable $26,400. But we're not specifically talking about those department heads.
All right.
Okay? I think that's it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sue.
Thanks.
Okay.
All right.
Have a good evening.
Now we go to common council.
Busy night.
Common
Busy
council
night
and all
tonight.
too.
Sorry?
Actually,
And some of these are not gonna be difficult at all.
I expected a crowd. Kingstonian.
Common council is sheet 5 or page 15.
Bottom of the same cast.
Not that I'm, complaining. Have a good evening,
That's all right.
everybody.
I don't care. Try
So
to
long.
take it all.
Welcome back.
Common council, sheet 5, page 15 in the budget book.
What
Total
sheet, Doug?
Total expenses.
Five.
Page 15.
Favorable by $1,350, driven mostly by reduction in advertising.
Go us.
101,
We cannot have a reduction in advertisement. Well, not a
No,
reduction in
advertisement.
advertisement, advertisement's going up.
1,500.
Sorry.
So is other
Going
equipment
up, thank
going
you.
up?
Going
What's the
up.
other equipment?
For you guys,
You're getting,
Yeah.
you're getting a car.
equipment.
Oh,
You
that's
have
right.
microphones.
That's our equipment now.
Yes.
All right,
I thought it was a 2019 budget, that's why.
Yeah, we all get to use
But
it.
that's the maintenance of the
That's
equipment, is
maintenance,
the, yeah,
yeah.
211, other equipment, is that us purchasing and more equipment, or?
That,
That's what I thought.
that's other, I
That's that mute
we
button.
have a, yeah, we
Is
do
it?
have some other
But
equipment.
did we already budget for, did we pay for that already?
We paid for
Yeah.
the mute. We have a lot of issues with the camera. So
Oh.
we're trying to
We might get it, okay.
do something
So
better.
instead of the maintenance, it might just be
Other
the
equipment, yeah.
Well, it's getting better.
How come New York State retirement went down? 812.
Somebody opted out. Somebody opted out,
Line
Patrick.
eight went down $1,245.
It's only
I'm
me and you.
going, maybe that's mine.
No, we,
No, we're not in the budget yet. It won't be out yet.
I believe
For next year's
we
budget.
lowered the rate in the budget.
You roll my rate?
Well, we look at, we get the estimates from the state retirement system, so we use an average rate for the employees for the retirement system.
Yeah, we won't be out yet. No, they haven't. I don't know how they're gonna do that.
So you see there's a $1,000 difference in the code book. We're getting
Code book.
less actual physical books because they're, as you can see, very expensive.
Okay.
So we did have a savings there.
All right.
So those are three things, the code book favorable by 1,000, advertising unfavorable by 1,500, New York State retirement favorable by 1,245, net salary is favorable $1,370 for the common council. Other questions?
No, sir.
Okay. Let's, oh, Alicia, the Rondout landing docks, that's you?
Yes and no. I mean, it's rented out.
I never
So
know.
the lease is, it's leased. I don't
Well,
do
that's-
anything with it. Well, I shouldn't say that.
That's
The docks, yeah, we do
sheet
have to
number
repair the docks.
26, which shows unfavorable by $3,000.
That was to repair the docks.
This is
yes.
page 70 in the budget book.
What page is it in?
Electricity and construction materials.
or,
Both unfavorable,
No
total
number on top.
$3,000.
Between 25 and
Between 25 and
27.
27.
Those
It's like,
actions or
it sounds
those,
so condescending if I say it. that way.
what's,
26,
John?
between 25 and 27.
Yeah.
But 26 doesn't have a number on it,
Okay.
so.
Right, well then, well, you
What are you saying? I
if
was
you want
being
to change the
condescending.
budget and make it 8 aldermen and.
Sorry, Lisa, I didn't mean to be condescending.
Yeah,
Not my
well,
fault.
I mean, we don't know when that's together.
I think that those
What the
are,
outcome
projected.
yeah.
So how
So
does
yes,
Do
the
you
docks
see that?
had
I
to
don't
be
see
Do it
that.
at the wrap meeting.
The docks
if you
need
want
to be
change the
repaired.
presentation of it.
Say,
The docks need to be repaired.
Okay, all right.
Are we on docks now?
That's
Yes.
487, construction materials and
Yes.
supplies, okay. Electricity up, one.
we have 7 and we have 9.
Central Hudson.
So we can make that change. Take that
Well,
out.
those are spaced on year-to-date 2019.
Yeah, the trend is
Yeah,
that
we
it's-
just
they've
sold.
been going up about 2,000 a year. So
Okay.
again, electricity is a guess.
So if you,
All right.
So I just went with what the trend was, the current year and previous years.
Okay.
let's make it an alderman,
Is there any question on
say
Rondout
$500
landing?
you can.
It won't be an alternate.
Okay, thank you.
Well, right.
Oh, that's right.
Right,
we
because
eight.
there's 10 positions total. It's not that we have an extra position in there, it's just
Yeah.
we have space reserved for the minority leader. So if you called it majority leader,
$500.
right, you save $500 plus the, you know,
Okay, so we're
couple
to
goodies on the end.
the honored controller, who has a bunch of things here,
Right.
starting with purchasing, which is sheet 3, page
No, we keep going, John too, we now, who knows?
27. This is unfavorable by $940.
Just
Contractual
pay increases.
retirement, it's all,
Page
yeah.
27 of the budget.
Essential purchase,
Yeah.
you? Oh, that's
I
mine,
think
right?
that's pretty clear.
Yeah, there's.
Okay, central purchasing, everyone okay with that? Okay, mayor's office, sheet 12.
You're doing theirs.
I mean, there's the, the $5,000 increase, that's been discussed, that he's,
My question is, what's going on with the secretary position? Lindsay's gone. You still have to put this in the budget, because if you put in the budget as a hire, does she still start at that same
well,
position?
right now it's vacant. I don't know that he's made a decision as to what he's gonna do there. Obviously, he's gonna need someone to answer phones and handle things for him, so.
But my thing is this the first step? If somebody's secretary comes in, or is this what we started out?
Well,
as the guy?
this is not a step, this is a non-aligned position, so it's, right, so
But
it's,
it's what it is.
yeah, it's like,
Okay.
it's management confidential.
All right, so whoever in there is gonna start with that pay.
Well, if you wanted to start someone at a higher pay, you'd have to come and do
Yeah.
a budget transfer, so. But that's how much money would be allocated for that position.
Okay.
The 41,657.
Where's the other 20% of his salary allocated again?
Sewer.
Okay, that's right.
Wow.
Sorry.
There are many, what is it, a whole bunch that are 20, various.
Or different percentage based upon, right,
Varying percentages, engineer, the mayor, DPW.
finance department.
Not much big.
No, I know
So
we
where
told-
was their overall pay in the budget? It's not in the department, in each.
Wherever there's someone's salaries allocated, there's an asterisk on the salary schedule, and it'll tell you where we allocate it. So here it says, mayor's 1210 and G 8110. G's the sewer fund. So if you go to Department 8110
Oh, I see.
on page,
You'd have to know what page they are, okay.
yeah. So if you go to the index, essentially the last page of the budget is all the sewer splits. You can see where everyone's salary who split the sewer is there. That's the sewer portion.
The last page.
Yep.
Let's see.
There's a chance the 821, the hospital medical may go down depending on who is hired for this position.
Potentially.
Yeah.
No, I mean, the hospital medical, quite frankly, is a big estimate. You know, we don't have the final night ship rate by the time we adopt the budget. You know, you have employees who change plans during the year. You know, when you get to the retirees, it's even more of a crapshoot because you don't know exactly who's going to retire, who's going to die, who's going to come off insurance, who's going to change plans there. So,
To roll the dice.
yeah.
Hey, you notice his requested and recommended are the same, exactly the same? He didn't make one change?
Suspicious.
Scandalous. Just kidding. Just kidding out there, world. It's a joke.
Okay, any more on mayor?
So John, all these people on the last page here, this is just a portion of their salary?
Not everyone. So the ones who are department, any ones where it says Department 8110
Yeah.
is a split. Yes, that would be a portion. Anyone who says that other departments are those who actually work in the sewer fund, either.
Is there anywhere in the budget that has their combined salaries?
No.
Nowhere in the budget shows us a combined salary of these people. You have to add them together yourself if you want to find out.
Right.
down there at the
Otherwise,
bottom.
otherwise it would inflate it if it was in there.
Well, it won't be a true reflection because.
Right,
Well,
so I mean,
I see, right,
it's just
if it's a page that just say, okay, this is
Why
everybody's salary.
isn't it in the budget, John?
Well, it is.
Why isn't it combined somewhere in the budget to show an employee's salary? Total.
We always felt it was self-explanatory with the notes we left. You know, wherever we do a split, we put a notation how it's split, and you know the reader can easily go to that page and add them.
All right. Thank you.
Sure.
Well, like a little addendum, like an appendix. You know.
Well, I don't know. If we're trying to be as transparent as we should be, as we could be, you'd want to know each person's salary, and it's government work. Everybody's salary should be listed. It should be clear. It should be
You mean total salary?
Pretty clear. Yeah.
total salary. It shouldn't be something you have to go look for.
I think Doug should do a
If we're
sheet. Doug should have another
totally
variance.
transparent here.
I have
What
to say, I
is-
mean, there's a lot of municipalities, just so you go the other way, a lot of municipalities don't even list names in the budget. I mean, we actually go to the point where we're listing employee names. If you look around a lot of municipal budgets, you won't even see employee names.
You would just see the position.
Yeah, you might see like 8 of this, 4 of this, 7 of this.
Now, John, do you look at this stuff, like, do you look at this stuff for like auditing purposes? Maybe there's a person who has, overtime that is just skyrocketing them, and maybe there's something going on in that department?
I look
Do
at
you look at that? I mean, is there an audit of that?
I look at every single overtime slip that goes through the city. Every single one. Every single overtime slip.
So there's not, you don't see anything, you always look for
Well, I look
anomalies?
I look for anything. I look for anything that I think looks strange. I mean, I kick back stuff to departments frequently. Sometimes I'll find a mechanical mistake, where, the slip was calculated incorrectly. I kick those back frequently. That's where Kronos will help. I'll question things that I don't think look right on his face for whatever reason. Maybe where someone, they put 3 hours for a call out, but I don't think it's entitled to a call out. It should just be paid for the actual pay. There's a lot of different things that I kick back on payroll. Or, have to ask questions and satisfy myself that what I'm being presented with is correct. But of course, there's certain things that are tough to verify. There is a lot of overtime, right? So if I look at the slips and I check for mechanical accuracy, just let me take a step back. Every overtime slip is signed by the employee who worked it, by the employee responsible for verifying it at the department level, the employee who authorized it, typically the department head, and then one other employee. So there's a lot of eyes on the overtime.
Can department heads get overtime?
They can, but it goes through the mayor's office. It goes through the mayor's office. So I don't see a lot of that. There's not a lot of that. A lot less than there used to be. Under previous administrations, there's more of that. But, it's been cut back a lot.
Very good.
See, Patrick, another way you can do it, to your point of being able to see the total salary, like for the mayor, 64,000 represents 80% of the salary. Just take that and divide it by 48.
Yeah.
I mean, instead of flipping pages and all that.
Yeah, I hear you. It's
Yeah.
pretty, it's
I mean-
there.
I mean,
I'm not saying it's not there.
Yeah,
I'm just saying,
it's convenient.
why isn't it just there?
It's a good point.
I think our finance chair would just make a sheet with lists of all.
Well, just so it's clear though, just so it's clear though, anyone who's not split, their salary is there 100% in their department.
Right.
Right. So it's the only people who have a split
Are those people?
are, not the only people. The vast majority of people who are split are right here.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, anyone else, you have probably 5 or less people who are split between any departments other than sewer. But if the common council would like to see that going forward, I can certainly try to do something with the budget. And, if you want some sort of different schedule.
It's just one more sheet, shows
If you want like
split employees, you just have 2 columns, department. We'll give the department and here's so much here, total. Something like that. That's easy to do.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move
Where are we at to now?
to
Controls?
controller,
Uh-oh.
which is budget sheet 6 and 21 in the budget book. So, let's see, here is, favorable by $796,816. Is that right?
Did the math. Yeah, paying lieu of taxes is up. Paying Lewis taxes almost $200,000,
They screwed up again with the extra column.
right?
796.
Pilots are, yes.
The pilots are up.
They're
I
up
see that.
$145,000.
Yeah, 140 for that.
And just as you're going through my office, there is, we went up a position mid-year, so there is some different allocations of my employees got kind of moved around to try to better represent where they spend their time. But we are up one body in my office.
What body?
Who is it? Stephanie Batante, the senior account clerk.
Yeah.
So she is, I believe, she's not allocated to 1315, but she's allocated elsewhere in my.
Oh, yeah, somewhere else in the.
Well, yeah, so once again, like, for those who aren't intimately familiar with my department's budget, the people within my office are allocated to purchasing, comptroller, parking violations, on-street parking, and then, you know, the salary offsets to sewer, but, so we're up one body overall. We've taken on a lot in terms of grant reimbursement requests. Going back some time ago, a gentleman in my office took on that work from the grants department, so he's basically now a split employee with economic development or grants management. So he probably spends, I'm going to say, close to a half of his time doing reimbursement and grant type requests. Today he was actually swamped with it. He's a very good worker.
So contractual increase, well, you don't have a headcount change, do you, controller? It's contractual?
Throughout my whole.
Well, I mean, just controller.
Well, yeah, we're up a half a body in controller. Overall, throughout all my departments, I'm up one body.
Yeah.
A half of a body is here. Because I split the employees from area of responsibility.
Yeah.
You know, so the people who are primarily working on, say, tax collection, that's the other area, I'm sorry, we also handle tax collection. So my employees who handle tax collection, I try to allocate to tax collection. Those employees who are doing more finance work would be comptroller. Our payroll clerk is comptroller. I wanted to give you two. Just I think this is worth you looking at. Sales tax sheets, right? So, I mean, this is
It's not that damn.
the second largest revenue item in the city. I think this is, so you're aware.
Ace of spade.
I was just thinking that, that's
King
looking
of
like
diamonds.
thinking the same
professional
thing.
gambling going on
I was
here.
ready to raise them.
Games of chance.
2 o'clock.
There's a chance. Handing out the sales tax revenue sheet.
So this sheet shows where we're at the moment. We're at,
What?
well, right now, we've collected $10,257,909.
It's sales tax.
Right, so, you know, down below, this is the same sheet I give you at each finance meeting. Not a perfect model, there really isn't one. The first two line items in the box below give you scenarios of what the sales tax collection would be, assuming the year-to-date change continues, versus the collections if they're flat. By the sales tax agreement, we are limited to receive $13,825,501. So I'm going to have a little bit of a cash flow pinch on this towards the end of the year. At this point, the county would withhold that final $659,000 from us. So regardless of where we come in this year, we're limited to the $13,825. I say regardless, assuming that we at least make the $14,370,000.
How about next year?
Next year, we've budgeted $14,325,000, which is approximately a 5% increase over the prior year budget. So next year, We're in a hard cap year this year. Next year is a soft cap year for sales tax. So next year, we are limited to what we would have collected this year without the cap, or whatever the collections actually are, whichever are less. And we would only share in growth above 1.5%. So it's a little bit of a complicated formula, but depending, conservatively, if the sales tax are flat for the rest of this year, it ends up at 14,370,000. We penciled in 14,325,000 for next year. So just to revisit the conversation we had the other night about, what can you do with fund balance? Can you lower the budget? Can you give tax money back? To clarify, I don't recommend significantly changing any appropriate fund balance for the reasons I've stated before. You have to overcome that number every single year just to break even. Obviously this is common council's budget. You can always look at the estimates that we've prepared, the mayor's gone with, and adjust them as you feel you're comfortable with. We try to budget conservatively. A lot of municipalities have gotten in trouble, some right here in Hudson Valley, by inflating revenue estimates and underestimating expenses. It's how Poughkeepsie got in trouble, specifically in the last decade. But once again, this is your budget. So if there's numbers you want to go through estimates, and you don't like the number the mayor has, you can always look at it and tweak it the way you like it. I can just tell you the reasoning and the rationale that we had when we developed the numbers, but ultimately this is the common council's budget, not my budget, not the mayor's budget.
So right here, John, this is for the total year of 2018, 13,825,000.
13,825,000.
And right now, currently, we're at 10 million.
Correct.
So
I'm projecting
as of October.
Yeah. So what I'm projecting, if there were no sales tax, if there were no limit, right, there was no cap on our sales tax agreement, we would have finished somewhere between these two numbers.
14.3 and 14.6.
Correct. But there is. There's a cap. Okay.
That cap is
so
at
now
13.8.
whatever we come in at this year becomes the base for next year.
Well, we finally come in.
Right.
Okay.
If this number comes in at 14.6.
You start off at 14.6.
We start off at 14.6 unless the sales tax goes down. Then you would be limited to that, right? So now, conversely, if the sales tax ended at 14.3 this year, we would be limited to the 14.3, okay? Unless there's growth over 1.5%. The sales tax agreement definitely puts some nuances into budgeting the sales tax.
And we've got one more year of that agreement?
Yes. Yeah, next year's last year.
And that's a soft cap.
Yes. Yeah. So this was the hard cap. This is,
And you said right now, this column right here is the sales tax, actual sales tax.
Actual collected, right. So then what I do down below is I project it out using two different models. One is, if you look at the second column from the right, the cumulative payment difference, 1918. See, go down to where it says 5.61%. You see that, right? So as of the date of this collection, we're 5.61% over the prior year. Yep, right there. So this number down below at 14.6 is basically taking this 13,825,000 right here times 1.0561%, and then the next. The 14,370,000 number down below, that's basically taking our year to date and then adding just the prior year amount in, okay, and then coming up with some sort of weighted average. It's not a perfect thing. I do review our sales tax projections with the county. I speak with Bert Golnick, on this every year.
This 5.61, right? Not that first one, but this one.
Yeah, this one here. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
I'm fine.
Okay, so for the controller, your expenses are up $14,184, but your revenues are up $811,000. So the net budget variance is favorable by $796,816, primarily because of sales.
Well, yeah,
line 1110.
Correct. Correct.
Okay?
You know, and I can tell you, for the rest of these items on here, we look at the trending. I go back anywhere from 3 to 6 years on these revenue items to see where they've come in, you know, what, developing the current year budget. I can tell you, I'm trying to be conservative with my estimates, but once again, common council can always adjust them.
Okay, let's go to
Any questions?
No, good.
on-street parking.
Wait, before, 2610 fees and forfeited bail?
So that's the money that comes to us from city court.
Yeah.
I really don't see the details of those. We get a monthly check. So that's court counsel who goes down there and assists.
Is that going to be affected at all by the shift away from cash bail?
I don't know how, I couldn't tell you exactly how that's going to play into that.
Okay.
John, I have a question on the franchise tax.
Yes.
What is that, where does that come from again? I mean, I think Chris probably asks it every year.
Time Warner or Spectrum.
Oh, it does, okay.
Yeah, primarily.
Okay.
You want me to give you a rundown of all these? I mean, these are all pretty major revenue items, some of the biggest revenue items in the city budget. So if you think it would be helpful, I can fill you in. So pilots, I have a schedule of all the pilots. These are pretty good numbers. I mean, I go through this with Dan Baker. We go down the list of the pilot agreements that we have. If anybody ever wants that, I give you a schedule of the pilots. Interest and penalty and real property tax, quite frankly, that is an estimate. That is our penalties on property taxes. That can fluctuate significantly from year to year. I do try to look at the trending. Just really depends upon what the collection rate is that year.
So penalties would be for late payment?
Late
Late
payments.
This is what we're actually getting? We actually get this?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Yeah, the rate is 1% a month.
So it's down $75,000.
Yeah. Yeah, so like if you,
Which actually, that's kind of good news, isn't it?
People paying the
I kind of look at that as a,
You know,
good-
you really
a
want,
good thing
it's a
is-
healthy thing if people are paying.
Sure.
property taxes.
Property
You know,
taxes.
just, I
People
think
are
it makes
doing
it,
better.
yeah,
Yeah.
you might get less revenue, but I think it's overall, that's actually a positive. Let's encourage people to pay late and have penalties.
well, we should publish the wrong date.
Yeah, there you go. It'll jack that number way up. You can find another couple 100,000.
sorry.
That's pretty good.
I didn't say that.
Just kidding.
We're joking.
So I'm just opening up the
Hopefully with that big fake hearty laugh, I knew I was.
Well, why are you looking at, what's this interest in earrings?
That's basically interest on our,
2401?
yeah, so that's, the Common Council gave me permission to open up a new investment account with New York Liquid Asset Fund. That's what you were asking me about, Tony. That one that's, the board is it's a consortium, and the board is mainly local school district and municipal officials, and we've done pretty well with that investment. Interest and penalty on real property taxes, the trending is 583,017 to 432 last year. We're at 308 this year. Last year we had $100,000 as the re-levy amount. So, you know, we're looking at over $400,000 this year. Once again, I won't know for a few months yet.
Sales and use tax, that's
Sales and use tax, that's this. Utility gross receipts tax, it's mainly Central Hudson, but that is, we collect that from a couple dozen entities. We have like a schedule on the gross receipts tax. The vast majority of that is Central Hudson.
They have to pay us money.
Yeah, so Central, just so you know too, Central, for the gross receipts tax, the franchise tax, we've conducted audits on those a number of times, where we hire an outside firm to go through and review. And so you have the treasurer's fees are our interest from delinquent school taxes. We make the school district whole on back taxes, and part of this program provides for us to collect penalty, I should say interest, the penalty on delinquent school taxes, and that's $135,000.
Medical insurance is a medical insurance. How do we get revenue from that?
Yeah, that's just employee contribution.
Okay.
Right? And then down towards the bottom of the page, this New York State revenue sharing, the 3,001. That's been the same number for about a decade. It's just a lump sum. It comes in 2 payments. The largest payment coming in next month, and then the mortgage tax. That's the you get that twice a year. And that's
going up.
That's been somewhat irregular. But once again, it depends on what's going on in the housing market.
What's the New York revenue sharing based on?
It's a formula put out by the state. They send a schedule out every year. They haven't changed it in at least for cities, for us, in years.
Is it like based on like population or demographic or
I don't know the exact calculation anymore because they haven't changed it.
Okay.
I mean, at one point,
I'm just curious.
at one
It's
point
not-
there was demographic information in there, I believe, but it's basically frozen. It's frozen at that level. Years ago when I first started here, it would go up a little bit each year, and then the state just put a freeze on it, and so now, we're stuck with it.
Okay.
So controlling net
All right. Thanks, John.
almost $800,000 favorable. Through mostly by grants.
Maybe,
all the revenues.
Sales
through the
tax.
revenues.
Through the revenues, okay. Let's go to off-street parking, which is sheet 16.
On street. Off street, on street.
On street.
Sheet 16, page 52 in the budget, up $51,205. Expenses down and revenues up.
Gotta like that. Darn revenue again, Rennie.
Line 203, equipment.
Rearing its ugly head.
Line 203, motor vehicles, $37,500 favorable. No?
Right, we had authorized to purchase a vehicle this year in 2019. I'd have to look whether it was from contingency or fund balance. I thought it was fund balance. But if you need that, I can check. No such need this year. Next year, there might be a need for a vehicle. But right now, I'll tell you, we have, you'll see the vehicle fuel has gone down. We have an electric vehicle that's doing quite well.
Mm-hmm. But maintenance up.
Maintenance of equipment, that's what it
Is
said.
that parking meters and?
Yes. The big thing here, the meters they're getting older. They're getting older. They used to be able to replace or repair the mechanisms that so the parking meter itself, there's a mechanism and then there's the outer shell.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The outer shell, we're fine. Those, unless they're vandalized to the point where we can't repair them, they last a long time. The mechanisms themselves are generally unrepairable. So, when one goes, if it's not a battery issue, if it has to be fixed, they're often getting replaced now. And they're several $100s a piece. So, we send them out a couple dozen at a time. And the repairs are expensive. At some point, we'll have to look at what do we do citywide? It's not it'll be an expensive project, to replace all the meters. Our kiosks now that we have in the lots are approximately $7,000 a piece. I'm sure more than that, they're like $7,500, but, we're trying to make do with what we have. But this is probably the lesser of two evils cost-wise.
So the thing that's keeping expenses down is no motor vehicles and
More revenue.
Tony had asked me about the revenue. Let me just take a look at it.
revenue's going up $30,000.
But
meter fees.
You know, you're gonna continue to see, pressure on that equipment maintenance line.
Mm-hmm. You say it's cost about how much when you send it out to repair?
It depends. It could be, somewhere in the neighborhood of $300. I could take a look at.
And what is it the cost to replace it?
No, I'm saying that's roughly the cost. It depends if it's a single.
They're not
header.
repairing them.
It's a single header or dual headed.
No, but you can't go out and just buy. What's the cost of buying?
Oh, that is the cost. When we send them, if they can't be repaired, we just have to buy a new one.
And the new one's $300.
Yeah, somewhere in that neighborhood. I could look it up. Single head versus dual head.
Mm-hmm.
A dual space meter
Yeah,
mechanism is more expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a second. I might even have it here. So once again, I mean, if you're looking at from a cost standpoint, it's still at this point more cost effective to repair or replace our existing stock.
Then to get a kiosk.
Well, sure. I mean,
Yeah.
Kiosks are great, but to outfit the entire city with kiosks is going to be, probably north of $500,000.
So John, you seem concerned that it's going to be a large bill coming up.
Not a large bill. It's just what I've seen, Patrick, is I've seen that line just ticking up over the last few years because.
I mean, you said eventually we have to do something citywide. Is that correct?
Well, sure. I mean, they won't last forever, right? So right now we are fixing them as they break down.
Now, will the revenue, John, do you think, and in your judgment, the revenue from this program, the cost of the program, the employees, the expenses, the medical, everything involved, and now the cost of replacing maybe in the future, near future, all these things, are we still?
You still will bring in more than you will
It's
spend.
bringing $51,205.
Well, if you couple this with parking violations, right, you still bring in more than you spend, and then I think probably the bigger concern is operationally. If you don't have a parking operation, you have no traffic enforcement. Your parking enforcement, what does that look like in the city, right? You have lawlessness, right? So. I try not to look at this as really as a revenue item. I mean, obviously there's revenue there, and we do our best.
What do you look at it as?
I think it's a necessary function for the city, to have parking meters, and we've talked about the value of parking meters and to control traffic and to make sure there's available parking for businesses and for those locations, so you don't have cars that are taking up space. And
you get more turnover for the businesses.
Oh, more turnover, sure. I mean, if you didn't have parking meters uptown and there was no parking restrictions, I mean, you could have cars that just sit there, right? I mean, so, but once again.
You could have signs and employees going around ticketing, couldn't you?
Employee?
Ticketing, 2 hour?
Yeah, hour and a half, hour parking.
It's exceptionally difficult to enforce 2 hour parking. Exceptionally difficult. And I believe there was also a constitutional ruling about if anyone saw that, there was an issue with marking.
Yeah, they move the tire.
Yeah, I mean.
They can move the tire an inch.
Yeah, so,
You want to read that book. They'll explain to you why cost of parking is actually the most efficient thing. It creates the best environment for everybody involved. It also talks about reducing required parking spaces, things like that. So, and it's only 500 pages.
You're right on that.
I was just going to ask about the revenue so far this year. It's at $477,000 year to date.
Mm-hmm. So it's over what we budgeted. I mean, we had
it's over what we budgeted. It's within $18,000 of next year's budget.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, that in on-street parking. We go to off-street parking, which is sheet 17, page 58.
So these are the parking meters. These are the parking lots.
Right. So these are the lots.
Showing a positive variance of $29,996, all expense.
Right, so the $60,000 there in the different districts is what the mayor's office uses for the participatory budgeting. The lots themselves, that's a combination of what we do in permit parking, along with the daily parking. And that revenue has been relatively.
And then the capital outlay, was it 10,000 the first year? Or was it always 20,000?
Which one?
That capital outlay.
It was lower. It was lower. And then originally we had projected less revenue. Conservatively, we just didn't know. When you put the meters in the lots, being new, you really didn't know how everyone was going to react. Right? The parking habits, would they change? Would there be some displacement of parking? So the first year of that was somewhat exploratory, where you develop a budget the best you can, and so in 2018 we took in $121,000 of revenue. The first year was $40,000, but it was later in the year. 2019 we're at $89,000 of revenue. The parking permits will be available for sale next month, so we'll see a revenue influx there.
People are taking advantage of them now?
Yeah. You know what? To be honest with you, we get. I feel like the lots, the kiosks are working very well. It was a lot to set up. Because we have to have them sync with our handhelds and the signage, and we spent a lot of time on that.
Nice. So currently it's around 89,000 year.
89,000, yeah. So.
Line 472, the contracted services. Can you explain that?
Which one?
The 472 is. I mean, it's a favorable.
30,000 down.
0 to 30 to 0.
That was the participatory budgeting line, I believe. Actually, let me take a look. Hold on.
Wouldn't that be above
No,
there?
hold on one second. I'm sorry. It was a budgetary transfer. Actually, maybe I think related to somebody else's grant. I'm just looking it up.
Thank you. Sorry. It's been a long day.
It's been a long meeting.
It always is.
It always was last year too, right? So
Yeah.
I think we went to 10 o'clock last year too.
City Hall.
We're not going to 10. We could do this, guys. So close.
Where do we have to go? Just
Supper.
No. Who else do we have to go?
Oh,
Johnson's.
John,
that's
yeah.
where do we have to go?
I'm going home. I'm not eating supper now. 9 o'clock, you kidding?
I'll have to take a look at it. The details not come up right now.
I know you got to be 9 o'clock.
I just
I'm
thought
like,
it
I'm
was
hating
cereal
eating
or
at
something.
7 o'clock. I said, I'm doing the rest of the
I love cereal.
I don't know last time I ate cereal.
Well, it could make sense that it is the participatory budget
I
because
don't
there was
know.
nothing in 2018 budgeted.
Yeah, I
And wasn't that the first year, or
have a
are we on
feeling.
the? Is this the second or the third
Yeah.
year of the
No.
participatory budget?
Yeah, I'll take a look. It's either that or
We've done it twice.
there was
This
a-
is
the
budget for
grant-
the third.
there was a grant for the lots for the charging stations and all that. It may have had something to do with that. But
You'll let us know, right?
Yeah, I can look
All right. Okay. What else do we need?
Parking violations.
Participatory budget
Huh?
run through the CG.
Parking violations.
No.
It's not the same.
So, bottom line, that's favorable, $29,996. Mainly because of reduced expenses.
Yeah.
Except for data processing
Of which
support. What's that?
472 is just about, that's where it is.
412, what's that?
So you're right, Ed, we need to understand where that's coming.
The 412 is the back office subscription for the kiosk. There's a whole operations center that we have for the kiosk. It's basically like a cloud-based
Did that just go up that much, or is that because now we have more of them?
data processing support. It was $4,200 both years.
Oh, I'm looking at parking violations.
Oh,
I
yeah.
thought we moved
Oh,
on.
sorry, okay, I'm sorry, I'm still on off-street parking. On
Oh,
off-street-
never mind. I'll wait till we get to parking violations. I
So
thought we
on
moved
off-street parking, just so you're aware, so there's a back office, there's actually like a site that we go to, we can, see all the activity that, the parking and the cars that are in the lots and as they're paying. We also have a service contract
Big
with
brother.
the company we bought the units from, and then we have a maintenance line for actual.
What do you mean, John?
Cars.
When they go to the kiosk, it automatically computes that, or you're saying you're actually watching the lots?
No, it's, so all the activity from the kiosk, when someone pays, whether it's credit card or Wish or whatever, there's got to be a system where you can look up transactions, and we have that. It's basically a software system.
Oh,
that we
right,
have.
thank you.
Yeah, I mean, there's no monitoring video or
Thank
anything like that a lot. Yeah.
They got you.
That's too big, brother. For
I thought we were,
Yeah,
I
so
thought we
you're
were
like-
watching the
Yeah, so if
lots.
you're stumbling to your car, you can still do that.
Yeah, but it's neat. I mean, like our auditors were looking at.
Just kidding.
We're able to give them like data dumps and stuff for their testing, and so it's good information to have.
Punch can.
Allegations.
So you're gonna let us know about that?
Yep, yeah, I've got that written down. I'll send you an email.
What are we up to next?
Parking violations?
Parking violations, which is page sheet 18
Page 17.
and 17 in the budget book. So,
went from
parking
part-time to
violations,
full-time. That's where the money
No,
went.
this is
Favorable.
where, right, this is my overall,
That's what Steph. okay.
where this is just a shifting of, I went up one total position in my office, and
But
it's
you
just the
went-
way I
All right,
allocated.
so it's half here and half another
Yeah,
place.
yeah.
And is that what eliminated the need for seasonal, John? Because you did that?
No, with the seasonal, I reclassified. The seasonal was working January through April, and I believe I moved them over to tax collection. Because so it was more important to have them there for tax time than just for parking violations.
Okay.
The big expense is data process support.
Right,
what you
which
said,
which
right?
that's our ticket management system.
And the
They do
biggest-
all of our noticing. They host the website that the customer pays on.
It's got to be favorable because your revenue went up 40,000.
Well, they get a percentage of our tickets. So the more tickets we write, the more they get.
But
Right.
your parking violations went up by 40,0und.
Correct. Right. Right.
And what is that? Can you tell me? Can you tell us what that is right now?
Sure.
Not like we're hoping to rate tickets, but
so we're going to a headcount addition of a half.
Right. So that's I'm up once again a total of one position within the departments I oversee. So there's been some moving around between departments just to better place where they are. We had a retirement, so that was part of it. I had to move people around.
Okay.
what's the violation surcharge?
Okay, so the violation surcharge was the program that the council adopted for the collections. That's the one I brought to the council.
Oh, yeah.
And that's done that's, from a collection standpoint, we've done very well in terms of managing that accounts receivable. I mean, the number's still very high.
So it's paid for itself, though.
It's just not growing at the rate it was. So it's been very effective, and I have not had one single complaint. Not one complaint has reached my desk.
Wow.
On the collection agency we hired at. I mean,
It's like unheard of in government.
That ultimately.
Can you
that was-
revisit that? Can you revisit
Quite
that?
frankly, I mean, that's one of your concerns, right? When you're looking at that and what's going to be the impact. Are you going to get a lot of calls and complaints, and I haven't received one.
Wow.
So they've
They
from
really
what I
did it.
gather, they've been
They-
extremely professional. I mean, they spent a lot of time. They even before we brought them on, they gave me their script. I wanted to review. I wanted to see what they said, how everything looked, and professionalism was very important to me. And it's been seamless. So. Parking violations year to date.
is 390.
390.
We're getting there.
Year to date.
No,
So
revenue.
it's,
Yeah, we'll get-
you know,
we'll get a
you're
lot around
probably
holiday
a
time. Don't
little
talk
light
more
right
until
now.
we get to
Yeah.
that 4th.
I'm not worried about it.
We
We got
were
it.
at 443 last year.
Okay. So we're looking at,
Get rid of what?
Parking things are not for the holidays. So we always get the calls, blah, blah. You know, why they got
But people, the
violation?
businesses don't
Well, that's what I
necessarily
told,
want it.
that's what I told people who own
Right.
business, and they're like, I've said, the information I'm gathering is that uptown business doesn't want
They
to get
don't
rid of
want
it.
it.
But now, I've been told downtown business want it.
They do want the,
They do want it. Downtown businesses, you know, I don't.
so we're looking at,
Leave well enough alone.
net
You get
positive
cars-
variance
you
of
get cars that just camp out,
33,670.
And they don't move. And then business complain.
Yeah, I'll have to just give it
Positive
there.
variance, 32,674.
Get it going before it gets going.
Driven by revenue primarily.
Yep.
Okay, let's go to contingency.
That's good. Next.
Contingency.
Cool. Doug, want to have an attorney-client session? Can I have one now?
You want to have a thing?
Right now.
Okay, for what purpose? So we can make a motion?
There's not a motion that needs to be made for attorney. This isn't an executive session that I'm asking for.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Attorney-client session I'd like to have.
Oh, okay.
So it doesn't require a motion.